All right, thank you once again. We will continue. Please, if you are hearing my voice, I need you to confirm that I am coming out clear and loud. Of course, those on Facebook Live, I want you also to indicate. Those listening over Radio Biafra app, you can also indicate that we have no technical glitches, that everything is going on. Now, without wasting time, I need to introduce our guests. Or should I do it this way? I would like our guests to introduce themselves, because I don't want to get people's name wrong, and I don't want to introduce them wrongly. Let them introduce. From what they say, we will address them that way. I will start with you, sir. If you can go ahead, tell Biafrans who you are, tell them your names and all the information you think is necessary for them to know about you. Please go ahead.
My name is Comrade Sipo, but I'd rather be called Comrade Stone. I hail from Soweto. I'm a member of the African National Congress. Have been ever since my youth. I fought under the struggle for freedom in our country. Presently, I'm a student of African politics, and I'm studying conflict resolution in Africa. And oddly, I came to Biafra Radio just to speak on my experiences during my studies, and also my experiences when we were fighting for the struggle for liberation. Thank you. Comrade Stone is my name.
Thank you very much. You've heard it. His name is Comrade Stone, and we call it Okute, where we come from. That is rock.
A rock, yeah.
Thank you very much for coming. All right, we are going straight to our next guest, of course, and I need him also to introduce himself. Somebody I called my learned colleague. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning to all the listeners. I am Vusumuzi Sibanda, Dr. Vusumuzi Sibanda. I am the chairperson of the African Diaspora Forum, or what we call the African Diaspora Global Network. I am, as my learned colleague has already, intimated, I am a legal practitioner and advocate. And one of the most important things is that as the head of the African diaspora, we are looking basically at a lot of people that are in the diaspora, not by choice, and people that would want to find themselves in their native lands, doing what we obviously want to see happening, which is self-determining and deciding where their lives, want to go. So thank you for the invite.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And of course, we welcome that. And as you have heard, he is, I don't even know which one to address you with. There's a lot of cap, He is a doctor. He is, of course, an advocate of the law. And my goodness me, some people don't understand what it takes to be a lawyer.
Well, look, yeah, it is more often than not, we take it for granted, everybody just wants to be a lawyer, but I think it takes a little more than that, and in particular, human rights lawyers, because I find that to be one of the most outstanding things that, people can do. If we have to take, after people like, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, we know the wars that these people have basically fought. And I've also learned, by the way, that, the Americans themselves, they believe that the right to, talk of constitutionalism and, proper politics is vested, with the legal minds. And I hope that in Africa we can do the same.
Thank you very much. And I must tell you, when I started studying law initially, I thought it was easy. It was so glamorous. I want to be a lawyer. And when I did my first year, I quit, and then I decided to go and do forensics. So when I was done with forensics, investigation degree, I still want to be a lawyer. Then I came back. I realized that to be a lawyer, you need to be patient. We're talking about, people don't understand. How does these guys know all these things? We're talking about almost 40 models that you have to do as a lawyer. And when you are done, it doesn't stop there. The only, profession that you can compare with lawyer is medicine. Because that is one, a profession. When you are done with your degree, you still have to do your housemanship and whatever. And law is almost like that. So, I must say, indeed, we have a legal mind here. And of course, we welcome you to our studio.
Thank you very much. In fact, you will actually notice that, unlike maybe medicine, where, for example, in medicine, they get to know all these diseases because they are already there, unless there is a mutation like what we see, taking place like now, with our dangerous dangerous, COVID, sickness or virus, which keeps on changing. With law, the issue is, our law is evolving every day.
Absolutely.
And, there are cases that are being determined on a day-to-day basis, changing the law that you knew yesterday to something completely new.
Like the one that happened this week, I think this week, the common law something, a woman who took the man, I think they've dated for 10 years,
yes,
but they're not married. So now she wants to get a part of his estate.
Exactly.
Before it's not done like that. But now there was a ruling in Constitutional Court that she can actually get this man estate, even though they're not married.
Indeed so, yes. I mean, so you can see that if you knew the law as it was the day before this judgment, you'd actually be thinking, you'd go on arguing, outdated law instead of the law that basically is existent today. And that shows, the fact that as long as the matter has not been determined or it has been determined wrongly, it can be brought and argued properly. And like we're going to be talking about the case of, the independent people of, Biafra, there is, in my belief, a very important tool that can be used, to basically ensure that self-determination is recognized.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. And I must say, they say that it's not, the lawyer who knows the law that wins the case, but the one that consults the source extensively. All right, we must continue. Biafrans, as you can see, we have, my goodness, I don't even know how to express this. I've been doing this since 2017, and I've interviewed a lot of people, even here, even when I was in Israel as well. But I must tell you, today is special for me in the sense that I've been looking for this opportunity, to talk to people who really understand what we as Biafrans are going through and what we are fighting for. So let's take it away this evening. And like this morning, I beg your pardon. I'm saying evening because I broadcast in the evening. So we have to shift our broadcast this morning so that we can suit, our guests. And that is why we are doing it this morning. So we need to go straight to it. Very, very important. And as we are, of course, interacting here, you are welcome also to give us a call. We'll open our line at the later stage and get Biafrans to start calling in. All right, I will start with you, Comrade Stone, because you have seen it all, if I will put it that way. I mean, when somebody said, I'm in the struggle, you know what it means. They have seen it all previously and, of course, currently. So, I need to ask you something, Comrade Stone. What is your understanding and take on self-determination as enshrined in the United Nations Charter for the right of the indigenous people? And thank you for correcting me this morning. It's not Article 24, it's Article 1. It's what I'm saying. You've seen it all.
This in fact comes from the United Nations, picked it up from the League of Nations. There was the League of Nations, the predecessor to the United Nations. And this is a European concept. For instance, they were fighting for rights of nations to self-determination, to self-determine themselves then. But when the United Nations came about, that's the first article in the UN. Self-determination means a right to govern oneself, rights of peoples or nations. Now, peoples can mean communities, can mean tribes, can mean anything, to govern themselves economically, socially, and politically. But also, another meaning for me is the right to secede from a government which does not serve those people.
Just hold it there. You say succeed.
Yeah.
How come we are being killed in Nigeria when we mention the word? Like we've seen something terrible. Please go ahead.
If a government does not, in a unitary state like Nigeria or South Africa, but if the government does not serve the needs of those people, it can be a minority. In most cases it is. Those people, self-determination means they have a right to succeed. Then that means I pull myself out because you are not servicing me as a government. That's the political definition of self-determination. So when it comes to your case, it's an interesting fact. I studied this in university in the 1980s. I'm too old, so I've revealed my age.
I'm just thinking how old I was there.
I went to university in 1968, and African politics was one of my majors. So I studied about the Biafran War of the 1967 to 1970, and that's when I first got interested in it. But self-determination for me is a right for any human community, any human to be able to enjoy it. Determine yourself, determine this is what I want, this is how I want to be governed, this is what I want politically. That for me is, and the funny thing is that the United Nations does support that.
All right, you said you studied about the Nigerian Biafran war.
Yeah.
What would you call it? A genocide or just a war?
No, that was a genocide.
Thank you very
Because
much.
those people didn't have the means to defend themselves against that army. That was huge. That army was huge, and it was being supported, as we know, by Britain.
Thank you very
And
much.
even up to now, I know Nigeria is being supported by Britain. We all know that.
All right, they say that the truth will set you free, and it's always good to speak the truth. Now, my concern is, why has the world not recognized the genocide of Biafrans till date, where millions were killed? Until date, nobody have actually acknowledged. During the apartheid regime, after the apartheid, there was truth and reconciliation. In other ways, they're trying to recognize that people suffered, people were killed, because that is how you're going to bring closure, if I'm not mistaken. But the Nigerian Biafran war, where people were murdered, slaughtered, over 5 million, and yet till today, nobody is talking about it.
But let's go back. Go back to the Jews who were slaughtered. Those were publicized during the Second World War. It was publicized because it's Europeans. Now you're asking me about why 1967 Nigeria. Even in South Africa, the first instance, we were slaughtered long before the 1961 Sharpeville massacre. But when the worldwide attention turned the cameras and their media upon it, it seemed as if it was something new. 1976, when we were slaughtered again, it seemed like it was something new. But they didn't go back to the 1880s. When I'm talking recently on June 16, we commemorated it's called Reconciliation Day now. I still call it Shaga's Day. I still call it Impi. The Boers, the Afrikaners in my country, call it the Blood River, where they slaughtered 3,000 Zulu Impis in that river. That river turned into blood. They celebrated as Blood River. We celebrate it as Shaga's Day. It was on the same day, or Tingan's Day, sorry. But that's the confusion. When it comes to us Africans, our things are seen. We are easily killed. We can be killed and forgotten about. The same thing happened in Rwanda. You remember what it took for Rwanda to recognize that so many people were killed. I think that's the same thing which needs to happen to you guys. Get international attention to focus that was a massacre. That was not a war of liberation where there was the power balance, the powers were imbalanced. The powers were imbalanced. That was a massacre. The people were killed. So there needs to be a change of tone internationally to say it was not a war of liberation where okay, that's another thing. We must change this perception that Biafra belongs only to the Igbos. I think that's the whole thing. The whole world says only the Igbos want to succeed. But that is the thing. My history is that as long as it's African, black, Bantu, it's less important. But immediately when get 12 people. How many people were killed at the World Trade Center? But the whole world is talking about 9/11. That's crazy. Yes. That's madness. How many people are getting killed in wars in Africa right now? Right now. And the whole world is called. It's just that propaganda machine that we don't matter as black people and as African people. We don't matter. So it's for you guys to push that thing. That was a massacre. That was a massacre, those 3 years of Libya. Yeah.
All right, hold that thought, Comrade Stone. And if you are listening, this is Radio Biafra SADC. We are live, we are direct, of course, coming to you all the way from Johannesburg. And I have, my goodness me, one of the best legal minds. I must tell you, I've interacted with a lot of people. And I can tell you what I'm hearing today is really, making me feel great. All right, let me move to our doctor, our advocate, our legal person. Do you see anything wrong with indigenous African people pursuing and exercising their right to self-determination as envisaged by the same article of the United Nations 1? Because now it appears in Africa like, when you talk about self-determination or when you say we want to succeed or we want to go on our own ways, people label you. And it's so heartbreaking that even African Union, of all people who's supposed to understand the word self-determination, will keep quiet while we are being slaughtered. What is your crime? I want to go my own way. Where on earth has that been written that says, wanting to be on your own is a crime? Please elaborate on that.
Thank you very much. Look, you will have to help me here because the issue that you are touching on, talking about the African Union, for example, is something that is very close to my heart and that pains my heart a lot because the African Union, as it is greatly respected in the world, it does not serve the people of Africa. The African Union serves the head of state. That is why it has been referred to by a lot of people as a trade union of African presidents. And as a result, the African Union is not meant, and I think people should understand that very clearly, that the African Union is not meant to protect you and me. It is meant to protect the people that are presidents, the incumbent presidents, from any form of dissent. That is why you see we had a coup in Zimbabwe in 2017, they say something else, and then you've got, a coup taking place up north, they say something quite different. Their involvement in the issues, they don't want to find out why are people disgruntled. The African Union has got, very good, policies and protocols on democracy and elections, or self-determination, but they are all useless because they don't serve the ordinary people. Now, let's get back maybe to where we basically, you started about the right of self-determination. Now, to be more specific, this article, that talks about the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights is the one that deals with self-determination, the right to self-determine. Now, when we talk about self-determination in Africa, what we need to understand is that Africa, from the scramble for Africa, has never self-determined. We are not Africa because we want to be Africa. We are Africa because we are determined by the people that scrambled, that came to colonize Africa today. So all the states that we have in Africa, the countries that we have in Africa, they have not been decided upon by the people of Africa. We inherited boundaries. We inherited states and countries that were determined for us by the colonialists. Now, so that is why you hear people talking about, let's go back to 1873 and all these particular issues where we are saying, but who we are, we come from kingdoms. The kind of constitutionalism and democracy that we talk about as Africans, it is not our idea. It has been slammed into our throats by the colonial masters. So today we talk of neo-colonialism, where everything that is happening, the resources that are finding their ways, outside Africa are serving the interests of the former colonial masters, and the leaders that we have today are feeding into that narrative because they are still colonized, they are still being fed and supported by these colonial masters. I'm sorry to say that. By the way, the African Union, it is sponsored fully by the EU. So how can you say that the African Union is for African people when it is funded? So it is actually speaking the mind of its master.
So it's more like a slave master appointing a foreman who takes care of his slaves.
Exactly.
It's imperialism of the highest form.
So you are singing for your meal. The African Union, if it does not do things, that are determined by its colonial master, it's going to crumble and fall down. If you look at international borders, look, we've got the American states, coming up with the coalition of American states. We've got the EU, we've got, the African Union. It is only the African Union that does not have an accountability system. Because if you look at the EU and the OAS, the coalition of American states, they all have got a form of holding state to account if one has violated certain laws and all that.
Yes.
You talk about the African Court of Justice, if it exists, what exactly it does, and the people of Africa, if they are unhappy about what is happening in their state or in their country, they cannot even report their own governments, to the International Court of Justice. And today, we have come in Africa, we have actually broken away from the International Criminal Court of Justice. This is what we want, because we do not want to be held accountable. I've heard a lot of people complain about the ICC. Look, don't get me wrong. I don't like the Western people determining and deciding who we are. But I find something very wrong with Africans. One of our good leaders, like Julius Malema, has spoken quite strongly about, ICC. I find it very wrong that you're going to say, why is ICC trying to prosecute, African leaders? I say, if an African leader is being prosecuted by ICC, let him go and prove his innocence. Because in the ICC, he goes there with his lawyers, therefore they are prosecutors. Let him be proven to be innocent.
What is he running away from?
Why are you running away? So if someone is saying, but we are only after African leaders, are they innocent or not? Let them go and prove their innocence. Then we can say, no, they are being falsely, prosecuted. So you understand that the defense that says, why are you always after Africa, for me does not make sense. You are violating human rights. African people are slaves in their own continent. African people, the people of Biafra, I mean, I like it when Comrade Stone speaks about the 1967 to 1970, issue of Biafra. I don't take it as a war per se. It was, maybe before we even get to that, you must remember that at this stage, the people of Biafra were actually governing themselves.
Yes, of course.
During that period.
Sovereign nations.
Yes. So what then happened is, when the government of Nigeria decided to block, the supply of food and cause, about up to 2 million people basically dying, children for that matter, not only talking about that, and the world is not talking about it. The world is not going to talk about anything that happens in Africa that does not portray it in good light. So as long as what happens in Africa is a massacre of the African people and it does not serve the interests, of the so-called international community, it's not going to help us. Now, let's look at what happened with Gaddafi. Now, when you look at the African people and the support for the African people, if a leader in Africa speaks strongly against practices of the West, he is seen as wrong. Now, the people of Libya, for a long period of time, yes, we hear about the tendencies of dictatorship, but one of the most successful states have been Libya.
Absolutely.
Now, because the people of Libya, got everything that they basically wanted. Now, but when the Libyan president was killed, up to today there is chaos in Libya. So is that what was desired? So that now the resources, the Libyan resources can be exploited by whoever. Then you can sponsor juntas and wars, and where is the peace, where is the development for all these years? So we as African people are our own worst enemies because we don't know how to come together. Look, my brother, I tell you, the only time that Africa is going to go somewhere else, it is the time that the people of Africa, the ordinary people, you Comrade Stone and all we people sitting here, are going to say, away with the African Union. We are going to form our own African Union that listens to the people. Where, when there is an assembly of the African Union or the people of Africa, it is not these dictators that go and sit and drink tea and talk about how to oppress the African people, but where the people are going to make presentations on how we want Africa to move forward.
Thank you very much. Comrade Stone, I want you to come in here. There are phrases I hear mostly here in South Africa, and it makes me angry. You know why it makes me angry? You will hear this what they say, Africa must unite. Africa must unite. And the person who's telling you that Africa must unite hasn't even been around Africa. He doesn't know that my people are being slaughtered when he's even saying Africa unite. It makes me upset. Because for me, he should be talking about stop the killing. Do you understand? Get the world to know that people are dying, that Africa is not united and will never be united until indigenous people are what? Free. So why do people here, I'm sure you've heard that. Even Comrade Malema used to say that before, but he has stopped now. He used to believe in African unity. But he realized that Africa is not really united, and it's not going to be united until 1, 2, 3 is addressed.
I'm going to be controversial here.
Please do. I love
I'm of the school of Kwame Nkrumah and the Thomas Sankaras, and I do believe in African unity, but not in isolation of what it means. I'm an African.
Of course.
I belong from the top to the bottom of Africa. Now I'm going to come here and be controversial. There's certain nations or countries, Algeria, Egypt and all that, I'm sorry. For me, I don't consider them as African because recently as now they had a FIFA Arab Cup. They aligned themselves with Arabism and then because of a geographical nature they call themselves African. There's a difference between an African and this African, which we are so-called indigenous Africans. So I believe in the unity of Okay, let me explain to you this way. I agree with Comrade Sibanda here. We never drew the borders of Africa. When my family, the Kumalos and then the other side, the Sibanda's family, existed in the 16th, 15th centuries. If there was no water on my side of the land, I crossed the river, there's water on your side. For the next 15 years, I stayed there. Once I stayed there, we start having relations. We intermarried. By the time I go back to my side of the river, I already have a quarter of your nation, and I've left a quarter of my nation that side. We become one. We didn't through borders. That's we interacted like that. I migrated. I'm a South African, but I know I migrated from the north. I came down here in the 9th and 10th century. That's why my nose has got smaller. Yours is bigger.
Yes, they told us. I think origin of South African law. That was my first model I did.
Yeah.
Okay. I read about that.
I migrated from the north. I migrated from you guys, Biafra land, if you could call it, because it's as wide as possible.
Them Goonies, right?
Them Goonies.
There we go.
And then we are all Bantu nation. We slaughtered to ancestors. We had certain cultures which are similar to us. Now tell me if those ones I consider as Arabs are united. So this I practice the same culturalization. I culturalize the same as I am. No, they are not. No, they are not. There's a certain distinct things. That's why in your country you even have them. They are Arabs. They're called Fulanis, yes, and they come from there. They are the ones who took the very same you to be slaves in America and the rest of Europe. So let's be careful about unity of Africa without putting it into context. We can, and I agree with Comrade. You get an elite class who serve their imperial masters. This whole system of capitalism which exists in Africa is meant to serve the masters who keep on taking oil out of the country. I mine a diamond here, it goes to Sweden, it comes back 7 times the price, and I have to buy it at that money. The very same oil goes out of the country, it comes back. So all those things, I do believe in the school of Kunakam to say Africans must unite. But the thing is, we haven't determined what sort of Africa we want.
And who is African? Who is
no, we haven't determined who's Africans and who's not. We must get back that who's the indigenous people of Africa. Who are the real people who came to who were in this country? Okay, in my country I've got a funny story. The whites, Dutch descent, are Afrikaners. They've been here for 400 years. They call themselves Africans, which means since 1652, which means Afrikaners. Colonization of a special type. They colonized us and put us in here. That's our struggle was for that. But even up to today, our struggle is still against economic oppression, which they still extend. The same struggle which all Africa suffers from. We are still imperialized, colonized by people who operate us by remote control, taking us, there was a professor who said, he says the whole ideology, look at me, I'm speaking in English, I'm supposed to be speaking in Swahili. I'm supposed to be speaking in Igbo or other African language, but there's no way. The whole ideology, my concept is changed to suit this mental, this westernized perspective. Our whole ideology in Africa has changed. We haven't even defined ourselves as Africans. So how can you unite with something which you yourselves don't know? So
thank you very much. I'm glad we've gotten that out of the way, because it really troubles me when I hear that Africa unite Africa. Like if you meet somebody here in this country, South Africa, and you say to them, you know, we're fighting for Biafra, you know what he will say to you? Come on guys, you don't need to fight. Africa was united. No, they don't. And when he said that, I'm so angry. He doesn't know why I ran away from home and came. That would have been the question, but why are you here? That would have been the first question. Listen to my story first, and then tell me if you are still a believer in Africa.
The worst thing apartheid did to this country was to limit the black mind, the African mind. Less education, they limited us to be workers and to churn their basically their policy. So those majority of South Africans of African descent who are black lack education about the rest of Africa. They didn't take out to find out what is happening to the rest of Africa. We're limited in terms of our knowledge to the rest. What is happening to the rest of Africa? Why are so many Africans flocking into South Africa? What is happening in their countries? We lack that. We lack that, and then now we are planning to deport everybody.
All right. You know, and that's the thing. Sometimes you don't blame the people. It's all about education.
Education.
What's the conception that foreigners are coming here to take your job? They forget the fact that these same foreigners you're talking about, they ran away from home for a reason. They don't even love being here. They are here because they can't go back. I'd rather live here and go through this whole xenophobia thing than go there and get killed. Because after xenophobia, there's still hope. There's still life, yes.
I hope it doesn't happen. Don't get to that.
All right, we must continue. Comrade, and now I'm calling you comrade because we're all comrades. I need to ask you something before I come back to Comrade Stone. There is this animalistic instinct of human nature to be free. You know, freedom. I have 2 rabbits, or should I say it's for my boys, they have 2 rabbits. So this rabbit, each time I want to take this rabbit to put it in the cage, you know, where they sleep, it's a war. They will be running away, I will catch them, they run away. Then my mind tells me, this rabbit doesn't want to go in there. I don't know if you get what I, this is an animal. Telling me I don't want to go into that, and when I end up putting them in that cage, they'll be making noise the whole night, you know, hitting. Come and get me out of here, you know, that kind of a thing. How much more a human being? When a human being say, guys, I want to leave, you have to let him go. If you try to stop him, then of course he becomes something else. It becomes kidnapping, it becomes hostage taking. So how come that people don't understand that fact, that people are created that way to be free? I take you back to American independence. You know what happened? These so-called superpowers, they forgot how they got where they are. America was in the same situation. Boston in the 17th, there were slaughters of Americans. They threw stones at British troops, and Britain slaughtered Americans. What did they do? They went into a house and locked themselves up and said, we are going to be free today. And they made a decision and said, whatever it is the price we are willing to pay. If we have to go to the gallows, so be it.
The Boston Tea Party.
Thank you. That was how American freedom was born. So how come the hypocrisy of the whole wide world, when it comes to Africa, they watch, they laugh. Look at these people, what exactly do they think? They know that what we are doing is the right thing, but they keep quiet. For me, it is hypocrisy. So when I read their history, how they got to where they are, even America has to fight Britain to be free. But the same people will not come and say to African leaders, allow them, this is how it is done. Talk to me about this animalistic freedom, instinct to be free.
You know, let me contextualize it, in fact, you know, and show you the tools of oppression that are used in Africa. During the war of colonialism and apartheid and all that we had, you know, there was support for people that were oppressed to pick guns and go and fight, you know, whoever oppressed them, because the people that oppressed them were, you know, perceived to be, you know, the Western states. Now today, you come from Biafra. I mean, I'm not saying you're coming from Nigeria. You have run away because, one, if you look at the 1967 to 1970 situation, where apart from the guns, people were starved. Have you noticed that poor economics has been used as a tool to force people out of their country? Apart from just shooting people with guns, but if you starve people, if you don't give people jobs, it means that this person must say, which death is better? Should I just die sitting here, you know, of starvation, or should I go and look for food somewhere else? Now, if today you stood up and you say, we want to fight this government, you know, because it is oppressing us, the whole world is going to turn against it and say, no, this is an uprising, this is a coup, this is a civil war, and no one is going to support your fight. The people that are telling you today that go back to your country and fix it, they will not stand with you when you want to pick a gun and fight a person who's oppressing you.
But now they're telling me to go back to fix my country.
They say,
they didn't give me spanner, no, no screwdriver.
You understand? So someone who's saying go and fix, how are you fixing? The state that is governing your country has got police officers where they will arrest you. Where is the Biafran leaders we're talking today? How can he defend himself? You are taken and thrown into a prison of your oppressor because you have expressed yourself. The right says you have a freedom of expression, you have a freedom of political association. These are international human rights, where you basically speak about your right. But if you take this person who is fighting for their own rights and self-determination, which is enshrined in international law in terms of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as well. And then you put that person in prison, but this person does not have a prison where they can take you and put you. So you are talking about a Goliath and a David kind of a scenario where you are saying this state that has got all the apparatus, I must stand against the state which has got all the apparatus which I cannot defend myself. If you engage the South African government today and say, look, we are the independent people, or indigenous people of Biafra, we want to be independent. The government of South Africa said, but wait a minute, there is already a government in Nigeria, we cannot be encouraging people to break away. But wait a minute, we have got marriages taking place in this world. And when any one of the partners in a marriage feels that, no, it's not working, we allow them to divorce. I mean, that's a very small, I'm looking at it from now, a very small component, where you are saying, when people come together and they feel that the relationship is not working, it is toxic, you say they must separate. Now, you have got provinces, people coming together, different languages, and ethnic groups coming together. And people say, but this relationship is not working for me. But you are forcing that and saying, no, you cannot break away because I want to be a leader and a president of such a big land. If you break away, it means I'm not going to be seen as a big leader. That is the hypocrisy that we're talking about. So when you look at the African Union is that tool, that vehicle, that will say, we want to make sure that the status quo remains the way it is. So when we talk about freedom of the people of Africa, we're not only being hypocritical, we are actually being devious. We are being, untrue to the core concept of Ubuntu or humanity. Because you have said a rabid fight for its basic freedom. Now, when you move away from your country because you cannot express yourself, if you express yourself, you're going to be arrested, you're going to be killed, the army is going to be brought against you, and nobody speaks against that. There's not a single person who speaks about the brutality. We saw just in Nigeria in 2021, when people were closed on the other side and there was serious shooting and massacres. We know about the elections, the last election in Nigeria, where up to the 11th hour there is a complete blackout and things go missing. But the election has been held to be free and fair, and now it is holding water. So governance is continuing. Now, we talk about democracy and constitutionalism, but we do not know how to adhere to the principles of that constitutionalism. We use it simply to blind people so that they can believe that we're constitutional states. You spoke about knowledge and understanding, about education. The only time that constitutionalism and democracy is going to be seen as a tool that is important in Africa is when civic education, when people understand their rights and responsibilities, when all these that call themselves governments will go out and say, look, from the first step, the principle of constitutionalism from about the 13th century, it actually said, and it says even today, that when people agree that they want to be governed by a constitution, it gives them the right that when they are not happy,
they leave the constitution.
They must revolt even by force and overthrow that government.
Absolutely.
But that's not what we are teaching the African people. We are saying, no, there is a constitution, people must be law-abiding. But you don't talk about when people are dissatisfied.
What they must do.
You are saying, no, man, comrades, you must wait for 5 years when there is another election. I'm banning right now. Why are you telling me I must wait for another election? Whose election? Who is determining that for me? Look, I determine myself that I'm not happy with this union. The people of Biafra are saying, we have been kept, we have been put here by the colonizer, and because it suits anyone who wants to govern, Nigeria, the states, the federations, who says, no, but look, I want to be seen as the leader of such a big country, I want these people to be free. And what is more important here, it is not the freedom of the people and what people want. Why don't you put a referendum and go to the people? God saying we don't want to be here and hear what they want to say. Is it so difficult to allow the people to... These people that are speaking here, it's a people that is a sample of the people that say we're not happy. So why not give them an opportunity to express themselves and see if they will lose?
So, you see...
my goodness me, please go ahead.
You see, somebody in the British government told me straight, he says they'll never smell that. But I don't understand it. A referendum is what you are all asking for.
That's all.
That's all. Let me determine. Let's put it to the test. Yes. Do these people in this region want to be falling under this country called Nigeria, or these people want to be on their own? I remember there have been deaths, massacres, killings ever since. Ever since you guys started the struggle for freedom, for basically it's a struggle for a referendum at this stage. You're not saying you want to secede from Nigeria, but you want to hold a referendum which asks the people on the ground if they want to do that. But of course you're not going to get it. Because you see, the problem is those people serve other masters. Those masters are not in Africa. Those masters are in Europe. And there's somebody who told me straight in my face, says, those people are dreaming. Britain will never allow them. I said, who? He said, Britain will never allow them to do that. And if you see where all the money is, you're saying why it can't happen. Come on, guys, we know. It can't happen because all the money is going to somebody else's pocket. It's not even staying amongst this elite of Africans. They serve other masters. Let me explain what we did. We had 4 pillars of our struggle. First was international isolation. We isolated the South African government. We isolated the apartheid government internationally. Nigeria was one of the first countries, where we got money from, and I've been recently taught a new language to say the chief of the Igbos was the first one to host Mandela. And I didn't know that. So I learn history every day because I'm studying this side of the conflict now. Now, when we isolated this state, the legitimate state of South Africa, we went all over the country, all over the Africa, as you are doing now, informing those people in those countries what is happening here. You understand what I'm saying? The first point of call, I always say this, wherever Biafrans are based, inform those people in those countries, because they don't know what is happening. It's not in popular media. Have your media campaigns, your political awareness campaigns in it. That was international isolation. We isolated them internationally by having these campaigns internationally to say, these people are killing us down there. You are busy trading with them, you are playing sport with them and all. They are killing us. We made sure that if a child died today, like Hector Peterson, is only a reflection of one person, June 16. One person, but it took over a whole nation, that the whole world focused on it. I think that's a strategy which worked for us. Second was mass mobilization on the ground. We made sure our people on the ground were mobilized in masses, that we stopped going to school. There was a time we even said, we're not going to those beaches which are divided black and white. We will go to the white beaches. We'll sit on the white chairs. We will do what we defied. Defiance campaign. We defied their laws. Mass mobilization. And of course, the third one was sanctions. We made sure that this country was sanctioned. And the fourth one was the armed struggle. When a person doesn't listen, Nelson Mandela said, these people are killing us. They're killing us. They're not listening. And we did what? We picked up guns.
Thank you. Let me come in there. Let me come in there. I like that. Because I hear people saying, it will never happen. And I say, but who the hell are you to decide my future? It's better I'm dead than you telling me it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to freedom fighting, remember IPOB were a peaceful
Yes, I know.
But it doesn't mean that it's going to be like that forever. All options are on the table. But you see, as a civilized people, we started off with a peaceful demonstration, following the UN Charter and what have you. All we are saying, give us a referendum, let's go put it to test and see what happens. But if it comes to a push at the end of the day that you tell us, no, it's not going to happen, then we say to you, to your tent, O Israel. And you know what? I don't want to call it out.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So people must understand, when it comes to freedom fighting, all options are on the table. We're even willing to talk to the enemies when they are ready to talk. Do you understand? But at the end of the day, if they refuse, then of course, it's not like we don't know what we must do or what we can do. And let me tell you the danger. People in the world don't understand. Maybe I must use this opportunity to say it. You see, Biafrans, they are everywhere. You know, the whole world, my goodness me, they are scattered. Not by choice, but because of the situation at home.
Economic.
They are everywhere now in the whole world. Is that the kind of people you want to mess with? Because when they lose it, can you understand what will happen around the world? It will be chaotic. Because each government of the world will be calling and saying, what is going on? Who are these people? So, they are lying low. They are not making troubles. They are asking for a simple thing. And to be honest, we're not going to ask forever. All right. Comrades. Stone will be back, and great Biafrans, if you are listening, I want to open our lines, of course, and see if anybody is willing to come in and ask some questions. Of course, you know the lines to call: +27 740 678 412, +27 740 678 412. You can also call me on Skype. It's Radio Biafra Sadek. Radio Biafra Sadek. Don't forget, Radio Biafra is one word. Radio Biafra Sadek. All right, the numbers to call once again: +27 740 678 412. For the last time, +27 740 678 412, and join the interaction this morning. It is hot here in the studio, not by the means of the weather, but of course what is happening here. I must tell you, we will take a quick break and we will be back, and of course, and take your calls at the same time. Don't go away. Get it online on your mobile. This is Ipob Community Radio, Radio Biafra, the first and the last.
The history of a people, I repeat, is like the stream of life from which the character, form and structure of the identity, their backwardness and progress are drawn. It affords the people the platform on which to predict their future. Though, just as every stream has a source, so every group of people has a beginning.
I had a voice on the radio, Radio Biafra, London is the mouthpiece of the Biafrans. Nnamdi Kanu is his name. He made a vow to fight the end till our nation Biafra is restored. We love him, he's our mentor. Biafra is for real. Yeah. We will keep on fighting till the end.
Anything you hear on Radio Biafra is the gospel truth.
I had a voice right in the air, sounding like a thunder, calling for my freedom.
All right, welcome back. I see the lines are going blazes. I don't know if caller on the line, can you hear me? I don't know if the caller on the line can hear me. Do I have a caller on the line? All right, let's get this thing working. I don't know. Unbelievable. Okay, I need to go back on break to sort out this line. I think something is a bit wrong here with the lines, and we need to sort that out. Very, very important. The calls are coming in, but it appears, I don't know. Let me try again. Caller on the line, can you hear me? Caller on the line. Do I have a caller on the line? All right, let's do this. Just 1 second for me. Caller on the line, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Watching again.
All right, good morning from here. This is Radio Biafra. Please, your names and where you're calling from.
Good morning. I am Comrade Mbanali Sochima. I am calling you from Johannesburg.
All right, comrade, please go ahead and give us your question.
Comrade, I must thank you for this morning's broadcast. It's very informative. I would like to ask our comrade from ANC, seeing that the president of South Africa visited the imposter in Asarok. I would like to know the policies of ANC towards Nigeria. Seeing the massacre and everything that's been going on, is the opposition supposed to change this year or not? South Africa is a leading nation in Africa, and I think that their behavior will go a long way. That is my question, Wachineke.
All right, thank you very much. And of course, you can listen over the radio and your question will be answered. Let me see if I can get this one. Caller on Skype, can you hear me? Caller on Skype. All right, good morning. This is very faint. I'm not sure why. Let's do this. Yes, but hold on a second. I need to sort out something very quickly. Just hold on for me. Mazi, can you hear it? Can you try again? All right, don't worry. I will come back to you. Just hang in there. There's a lot of issues here. I will come back to you, Mazi. Please don't go away. I'm trying to see what I can do to sort this out. Very, very important. Before we go to him, you heard the question he had from South African perspective. Please go ahead.
I will not speak for the ANC, but I'll tell you how we decide policy within the ANC. And I cannot speak for the ANC. I'm just an average member, and only in my branch. But let me tell you how it works. You ask me, does the government, South African government, I won't speak for the South African government either. You ask me if the South African government has a policy with Nigeria. Of course, there are bilateral relations with Nigeria. Those bilateral relations have been there for a long time. As the African National Congress, we haven't taken a position on Biafra and your struggle for Biafra. Only this year, we're going to have a policy conference, and at the end of that policy conference, then we'll be able to go to a national conference. Policy is taken. We do discuss African politics. We do discuss issues of African politics. Once that policy is taken, then only will it filter to the government of the country, if we are still government of the country. So I cannot speak either for the ANC or for the government of the country, but this is my personal opinion. Until policy is taken on what we say about the right of self-determination by the Biafrans in Nigeria, the ANC hasn't taken any position on that as yet.
All right, thank you very much, my brother. If you are listening, I'm sure you've heard that. I'm trying to sort out a lot of issues here. Technically, we are having a problem. But let me do this. Maybe it will help us, because I have a caller holding for me on Skype. Mazi, can you hear me? Are you still there? Caller on Skype. Caller on Skype, are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Please go ahead. Welcome to the programs. Your names, please, and where you're calling from.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mazi IKECHUKWU. My name is Chukwu. I'm calling from Italy, aka Chris. Please, I wanted to ask a question if United Nations is workable for African countries, equally as a Europe. But having got their comments there and what they have said, that have given me the full draw my attention that United Nations is not workable for Africans. So, on that note, what can we do to draw the fully attention of the the United Nations to be workable, to see that it works like they handle cases in Europe as well as Africa? Then that's number one question. Then second question is what can we do to draw the AU, United African Union, to be workable, be a decision maker in the affairs of African countries, to determine our self-determination or whatever cases might be following in Africa, as this guy complained about Libya. And let me put it that.
Are you still there? Can you hear me? Maz, can you hear me? Are you still there? All right, I'm not sure. Mazi, are you still there?
Am I not coming out?
Yes, go ahead. I can hear you now. Go ahead, please.
Oh my God.
Go ahead. I can hear you now. All right. I think he's having a problem with the Skype connection. Can you hear me, Mazi? Your line is bad now. Your line is bad. All right. I will try to reconnect with you. Call on WhatsApp. Can you hear me? Call on WhatsApp.
I can hear you, Professor Onoha.
Call on WhatsApp. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Professor Onoha. How are you?
Do I have a caller on WhatsApp?
Yeah, I'm calling you. I'm hearing you.
All right. I think we need to take a quick break so that we can sort out this issue. Please don't go away. There's a bit of technical issue.
Yeah, Professor Onoha, can you hear me?
The lines. I am not sure what exactly it is, but we will sort it out. We will be back after this. Don't go away, please.
Hello, Professor Onoha. Hello, Professor Onuoha, can you hear me?
Online.
Professor Onuoha, can you hear me?
This is Ipob Community Radio. Radio Biafra. The first and the last.
The history of a people, I repeat, is like the stream of life from which the character, form and structure of the identity, their backwardness and progress are drawn. It affords the people the platform on which to predict their future. Thus, just as every stream has a source, so every group of people has a beginning.
I had a voice on the radio, Radio Biafra, London is the mouthpiece of the Biafrans. Nnamdi Kanu is his name. He made a vow to fight the end till our nation Biafra is restored. We love him, he's our mentor. Biafra is for real. Yeah, yeah. We will keep on fighting till the end.
Anything you hear on radio Biafra is the gospel truth.
I had a voice right in the air, sounding like a thunder, calling for my freedom. Yeah, now I can't come. I had a voice right in the air, telling me to listen. Biafra's freedom is near. It's telling me Biafra is my name. Biafra is my home. Biafra is my home, my home. It's telling me Biafra is my name. Biafra is my name. Biafra is my home, my home.
Alright, welcome back. I do apologize, of course, for the technical issues that we had. And of course, let us go back to the lines and see maybe the lines will work. These things do happen because we're dealing with electrical issues, and now and then we do get issues. I have a caller on WhatsApp. Caller on WhatsApp, can you hear me? Caller on WhatsApp.
Good morning, Professor Onuoha.
Good morning from here, my brother. Good morning. Your names, please, and where you calling from?
I can hear you.
Yes, go ahead. Your names and where you're calling from.
You're speaking to the scavenger. My name is Obuze the scavenger.
All right. Thank you very much. Where are you calling from? Where are you calling from,
I'm calling from Afridi Sud.
All right.
Afridi Sud is South Africa.
All right. Thank you very much. That will be French. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Yeah, Professor Onuoha, what I wanted to, you can see all your panel here, they have agreed that all these presidents were put there in order to protect their mining interests, those the Westerners, and their gold. They want to protect their oil. As long as the oil and everything is flowing, there is no problem. But what I wanted to ask your panel is that now we the Biafrans, we are no longer interested in too much English, too much speaking English, too much grammar. What we want from this year panel now is for them, each one of them, to adopt one Biafran. If they go to the street of Pretoria, street of Hebrew, street of everywhere, all these people you see scavenging there are the Biafrans, and they do to us. You can never see a Fulani man there because they are comfortable in that Nigeria. So what we want from them now is to equip us, to adopt at least one of us, so that we can go back and fight. Because we cannot go there just only to fight. Because even here in South Africa where we are, it's not easy for us. For instance, as long as you are a Biafran or a Nigeria, you are in South Africa. I'm talking to our comrade there, who is an ANC member. And the ANC must remember that the only people who embrace ANC when they were fighting for apartheid are the Biafrans. In fact, it's a Biafran who hosted Dr. Nnamdi, Dr. Mandela, who hosted him in somewhere in Biafra land, who harbored him for some times, and even Tabon, all of them were there.
I think we've got your question.
Land. So we wanted them now to help us, to
Mazi,
adopt us.
thank you very much. We've got your question.
Please, that is what we want from them.
All
we
right.
want them to go. Let them equip us. Let them help us. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you very much. I think we will try and see if we can take one more call. And then, of course, I will give to the panels and then we will continue. Next call on WhatsApp. Can you hear me? Call on the line. Yes, good morning from here. Please, your names and where you calling from.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Your names and where you calling from.
Yes, good morning, Mazi IKECHUKWU ONUOHA.
Good morning.
And also your presenters or your interviewer this morning. My name is Mazi IKECHUKWU Wisdom. I'm calling from my location. I'm from Ohajima is in Imo province, Biafra land. I want to ask your interviewers, the members of AMC, what are their stand on the extraordinary edition of Mazi Kanu to the zoo? Because Mazi Kanu in the first place is not a Nigeria. He have denounced his citizen being a citizen of Nigeria, and he is a citizen of Britain. As Britain are not doing anything, Mazi Kanu is a Biafra in Africa, and he is extraordinary addition to Nigeria, and the people that are supposed to speak on his behalf are the Britain. Are not speaking on his behalf. What are their fans?
Right.
As the member of and they have fought for freedom and know what is in freedom. We know that Europeans, they cannot help us.
Thank you very much. I think we've got your question, Mazi. Yes, thank you very much for that. Thank you. All right, I will start with you, and then I will go to you because this issue now concerns human rights issue, and yes, I would like you to treat it as well. But since he has directed it to you, our leader was abducted in Kenya. From there was this business they did. They brought him back to Nigeria. Now they want him to stand trial in Nigeria, and that's what we call extraordinary rendition, when you abduct people, without extradition. We know about Bushiri issue. They didn't just go to Malawi and drag him back to South Africa. They're still waiting for the court to rule before Bushiri can come to South Africa and stand trial. So how come Nigeria were able to break all human rights protocols, all international treaties, and go and abduct somebody from another country, and now they want the person to stand trial in a court that has no jurisdiction over that person? Please, what's your take on that?
My take personally, and I'll repeat again, I don't want to speak for the ANC, but I know we respect the rule of law. We're signatory to so many treaties of international law. It would never have happened in South Africa, such a thing, and I think Nigeria knows that. I'll give you a case. There were policemen who renditioned people from here to Zimbabwe, and those people got killed in Zimbabwe. Those policemen stood trial in South Africa, and those policemen were fired, and they are serving a sentence. So even our own law is against that. Even our own police were put to trial for renditioning somebody out of this country into Zimbabwe, and those people were killed. And of course, that's illegal. That's a kidnapping. What happened to Nigeria and was kidnapped in Kenya, I have no idea how that happened, that the Kenyan government even allowed that.
This is Africa, everything goes.
No, but not in South Africa.
Exception of South Africa, because
you in South Africa you enjoy freedom of speech. Absolutely. The same rights when you enter this country, whether you're an illegal foreigner, illegal immigrant, or you enter with a passport, immediately you enter the borders of this country. The same rights which I enjoy as a South African, you enjoy. That is guaranteed.
Human rights.
It's guaranteed in our constitution. It is guaranteed. All South Africa belongs to all those who live in it. It's the first clause of our Freedom Charter. So it's guaranteed in our constitution that you enjoy the same rights as I do. That's the thing. So there's no way such a thing would have happened. There's another comment who asked again from Italy. He was saying if the AU and the United Nations, I didn't say the AU and the United Nations can't work. Even the AU has got a committee which deals with rights of indigenous people. In our case in South Africa, we used every strategy to get our point heard. Use every platform, use every organization. We used even the United Nations until we got a resolution taken by the United Nations. There are many other. Okay, let's go to Sudan. Sudan, for instance, now has got 2 Sudans, but those people are fighting they fought until they got their freedom. So I'm saying to him, use every platform, every organization, whether it's Amnesty International, use everybody in this world to get your case heard. Don't say this one is not working. No, you'd never know. In politics, 24 hours is quite a lot of time.
All right, thank you very much. Let me come to you, sir. Would you call what happened to our leader, Mazi Kanu, a crime against humanity, extraordinary rendition? What's your take on that?
I think, like I said earlier on, that look, we had a case of Omar al-Bashir in 2017 when he was supposed to be arrested here in South Africa, because of the ICC, request. He was not. In fact, the government of South Africa, assisted him to escape. So you can see that the law is not being applied uniformly. This is not the law of general application. This law protects certain individuals that are high up there and people that are not seen to be high up there that want to protect their own rights. Why do you arrest, somebody who is not with grenades and bombs or doing anything else, somebody who's trying to get people to talk, who says this is what we're talking about? So what we have now is a situation which we call oppression and suppression of dissent. So you will be abducted anywhere as long as you're an ordinary person who's fighting a wrong system. They will come down wherever you're hiding and take you and charge you with all these spurious charges that are being brought against you. So in terms of the freedom of expression, his freedom as a person, the fact that he must be tried in terms of the international law, that if he must be extradited, he must be. You're talking about somebody who has denounced the citizenship of Nigeria, who doesn't want to be there, who is therefore,
and he's also a citizen of Britain.
Exactly. So now, in terms of that, the reason why he left Nigeria means he should be protected by international refugee law to start with. Because he has now said, I don't want to avail myself to this country because what is happening here is, infringing on my rights. But the world is not saying anything today. And yet that person now is being brought into a hostile country where his rights are not protected. And then you ask me that can AU therefore assist and help the people, of Africa in protecting their rights? That's why I'm saying it is impossible. And I am actually, on record, and I'm actually going on record to say, to start with, the biggest challenge that we have, and when we look at the international, the legal aspects of this particular issue, is that from now on, the independent people or the indigenous people of Biafra must then be looking at a situation where we're saying, we need to litigate. Every tribunal that is on earth must then be approached and served with the papers to say, wait a minute, we want self-determination in terms of the ICCPR, Article 1, which gives us the right of self-determination. And because this is what we are saying, we want to be heard. And this must be done at UN level. Petitions must be sent to even to the AUSEs, it must be petitioned. You must petition the United Nations. And this is what is supposed to be the course of action from now onwards, because I liked the other speaker says, look, it's not time for the English and could not work, but it is in fact that time now, because we need to put to test these laws. We need to expose it. You see, when Comrade Stone was speaking about mobilization, the only part that I completely agree with him is that the kind of media publicity that is required now is that we know that if you want to go into Biafra now and start even talking to people, you cannot freely do that.
Yes.
Because you will be arrested. Your movement, you cannot even talk to people.
If you come back alive, then of course you must go to Thanksgiving.
There you go. So now what needs to happen at this particular stage, this is a very serious problem because it affects the humanity of an African person. Africans cannot self-determine. And now what needs to happen is, the Biafrans must be the first to allow and set the African continent free. That is why we stand with the people of Biafra now. Because our freedom is premised and based on the success of this particular story. And this story and this rhetoric and this narrative cannot be fought over another 10, 15, 20 years until we die and leave it as is. When we were colonized, the ancestors, our forefathers went out to fight, they had guns. Now we need to come up with a different strategy fighting this war. Because African leaders are going to protect their own brotherhood. This is a brotherhood, it's a cult. They will protect each other. So we need to show that we are wise enough to unearth and expose and destroy this demon called African leaders and the AU, which is used to oppress us. They meet every year, budgets, they rotate the leadership. You've got the African Parliament. I wonder what these people sit down and really are talking about except for fighting for positions. You can see this is what is at stake. The freedom of people, the ability of people to survive on their own is not an issue. But we want to talk about the law of general application, the law that applies to a president and to an ordinary person. If as a person you say, but I do not agree, this is not what I want, and it is my right to dissent, why can I not be allowed to dissent? Why are you not allowed to say, I do not, international law says you have a right to leave your country and to come back. Now, you are not leaving the country. If you come here to South Africa, if you tell me how many Biafrans today have been given asylum in South Africa, I mean, zip. Because they say, but what war? In order for you to get, to get asylum in South Africa, you must be a person who says, look, I'm running away from Boko Haram. But there is a more pertinent issue. Yes. And this is the issue of a people that says, I don't want to be a people associated with Nigeria because I am an independent person, and because I say that, then I'm ejected from my country, I'm killed. But then the country says, that ratifies the United Nations, Convention on Refugees. The 1951 Convention says, yeah, but wait a minute, that is not a crisis. We don't recognize that. And this is what is happening the world over. And we all sit down and smile and say, yeah, but look, the world is doing all right, we're all doing fine. Now, listen, we're going to change this narrative. We're going to change this story. And the only way we need to do that is to make sure that from now onwards, the people of Biafra become Project Africa.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. All right, I have two callers holding on. I'm going to take their call, and then of course I believe my comrades here might want to ask one or a few questions, because I know where they're sitting and they're burning. They've got something they want to ask. It's just unfortunate that our microphone here is limited, but we'll make sure we find a way to get them speaking. I can't have such heavyweights here and then they are mute. They don't talk. And I must tell you, this man sitting behind you, I started hearing this word of imperialism, those terms from him. At the time we even get fed up. We said, every time Michael is this. But at the time I begin to realize he's talking sense. He's talking deep.
Can I explain something?
Please go ahead. Yes.
From colonization, we went to neo-colonization.
That's the word I'm looking for.
From neo-colonization, we're living in an imperialism now. The same colonizers have imperialized us. That's why I said to you, even the language we are speaking is not our own. Even the mind, the thought, he mentioned it. From Roman Dutch law, you're learning things which are not our own. That is imperialism, because they are operating now by remote control. And they are using our own people to colonize us again. You understand what I'm saying? It's not now that you see a European or not. No, you see your own people oppressing you and colonizing you. That's what is happening. That's imperialism.
And that's why our own law becomes immoral laws, yes. And their own law becomes
they
abolished these Zulu laws and what have you,
traditional laws,
and brought all this. Now we're talking about common, this African law to be introduced. Why should it be introduced? It's supposed to be organic. It's supposed to be there already. Because you are in Africa.
It was destroyed. It was destroyed.
Unbelievable. All right, we must continue. Let me go to WhatsApp. Caller on WhatsApp, can you hear me? Thank you for holding your names, please, and where you are calling from. Caller on WhatsApp.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning from here, Mazi. Your name?
Professor Mazi IKECHUKWU ONUOHA.
Thank you very much.
My names are Mazi IKECHUKWU from ancient kingdom of Agudere. Currently calling from Podnova, Benin Republic. Let me go straight to the question of debate this morning, and my questions to the panel is this. We all know that Biafra stands for Africa. Africa, I mean the black race, I'm sorry using the word blacks, I mean the aboriginal people. And truly, every preaching of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is centered on the liberation of Africa. And I know that nobody is free in Africa, including South Africa. And every struggle now is centered that Biafra is into is centered on the total liberation of the black man from the Western neocolonialist tendency. Are you guys in or out? That is the question I want to ask, because and all this grammar is a Western, is an English word, English grammar. But I want to know: are you people in? Are you with us? To free Africa.
Are you still there? Are you still there? All right.
I ask this question is because no African country is independent, and Biafra is agitating to be totally independent from. That is where we start. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've got that. Let's go to the other line. Get that question, and then I will get our panel here to answer. Then, of course, I will turn to my comrade here in the studio. Caller on the other line, can you hear me? And
calling from
what a wise
the
person.
kingdom. Yes. I am the
Which
wisest
kingdom?
pastor.
Which kingdom are you calling again? You say a kingdom. There are so many kingdoms. Which one?
Kingdom of Gold. That is Cambodia.
Okay. All right. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes. And always doing a great job for Biafra, because in this very era, dispensations where where we are now, we need something like this, more of it from people which we believe could be a remedy. Because what I'm seeing, that is my own opinion, what I'm seeing now is that the whole leadership are corrupted. They are a kind of contaminated, and in short, none of them are good for common man. Number one is, they say that slavery has stopped, and they create a visa and an embassy where you yourself will go and obtain visa to travel and enslave yourself again. I'm using this as in result of a kind of what you said some time ago, how you went to Israel to stand 10 to 12 hours every day to wash plates.
Do you really have to tell people that I was washing plate in Israel? Please go ahead.
So, my brother, I'm just using this as a phrase.
Oh, I know.
You know?
Only you will say that because you know me better. Go ahead, please.
Yes, but that is the truth. Now, I want to ask you, and I want to bring it down to a layman understanding. You travel by yourself and yourself alone with your own money, hoping to get to a greener pasture in order to broaden your life, to help the situations on ground in your family. Now you went there to stand, take a standing ovation for 10 hours every blessed day, without minding that such could cause opomeri. You can interpret it to those people that are sitting with you. You know what is opomeri?
Yes, go ahead, Pastor.
So now, and you are in a better position to explain what you went through. A place that you can stand without sitting down. When you sit down, they begin to shout on you as if that they are your God. Now, such people, I'm going to somewhere because I will ask a question.
Yes,
such
please,
people that they are
try to make it snappy for us because of time. Go ahead.
Very snappy, very snappy. Such people that you are working for, that are seeing you as less human, and these people saw themselves as a supreme being, and they are in all kind of organizations They created United Nations, they created African Union, they created every union, trying to tell you that you have a limited movement, you have a limited plan or a limited kind of ideology, that these are the limits or places that you can stop, that you cannot cross, that this place belongs to us. Now, back to where I'm trying to drive so that you can understand me now, is that our leader was renditioned from Kenya. And you will understand that our leader said some time ago that when you mention Biafra in United Nations, where we hope, where every common man lies, that this United Nations is a place that a common man could kind of lay his voice, and his voice will be a kind of treated. That when you mention Biafra in every place, all of them will close their meeting and run away. That's number one. Then now, they want to unleash, they want to kind of commit crime. Do you know what they did? They used the head, because there is no any other state in Africa that you could report this very matter of rendition that will be able to listen to you, because the only person that will rule the accusation is Kenya president himself. And if Kenya president is involved in the rendition, how do you think that this rendition matter will make headway? And being that our leader is a British citizen, and Britons are not saying anything, do you think that that thing is in line with a common man vision or plan, that someday somehow the Britain will rise up and speak against their plan, and or Kenya will rise up to give an instruction of the rendition in the African Union for them to tackle Nigeria? Do you see the game right now? They use the head, and Britain is one of the world power, because after Britain you come to America, after America Germany, after Germany is France, and China is coming up right now, and Nigeria went to borrow from China to make them friends, even if some other 5 other world powers kind of frustrate them.
Thank you very much. I know you're a pastor. If we allow you, you will take the whole time. Remain the one you will preach on Sunday. Thank you very much. I think you got your question.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. And of course, I don't know if you that we had 2 people who called, the first one and the second one. If you got their question, maybe you want to say something based on what he is saying. I don't know.
The first one again was talking about adopting. That is time for it's time, and are we with them or with? I think the question is rhetoric.
Exactly. Yeah. So
me being here just says that I believe the Biafran struggle is a just struggle. Personally, I believe it's a just struggle. There is no you're talking about the rabbit.
I mean, if you are not with us, you wouldn't be here.
I wouldn't be here. So. A rabbit in a cage cannot be caged forever. You know, the spirit, it's been caged.
You see, that explains what I told you about my rabbit at home.
Yeah. That spirit of the ancestors who died in 1967 till 1970 is coming up to this youth again, and you guys have taken it up. So I think they are operating within that, and he's making a huge mistake if he says it's time for talk. Is not the whole world is listening. The arrest of Mazi Kanu on the second question, that how could you allow that to happen? The funny thing is that the arrest of our political leaders in the 1960s and throughout our struggle raised the international platform. They made them matters for us, because I remember at the age of 13 I was saying, release Mandela, release Mandela. Because at that stage, for me, I didn't even know what Mandela was representing, but I knew that he was representing freedom. So I think it was a huge mistake on the Nigerian government to even rendition Nnamdi Kanu, because now the whole international attention is focused on release that man. You kidnapped him from another country, and it bodes well.
Absolutely.
It bodes well for your struggle. So on those 2 points, and the work of the African Union is not, the African Union, he's right, okay, fine, it serves the elite. But there are, which I know some personally, within the organs of the African Union, within the committees, there are some people with their mouths shut who know about the struggle of the indigenous people all over Africa, who still who are still saying, but I don't know how to talk within those platforms. Some of them are students of politics, they've done masters. Sorry. Some of them do represent governments, but they do not want to talk or to say, now I'm working for government. But he is in a committee. I know this one committee is in a committee of the African Union on conflict resolution in Africa. He knows these stories. These issues are being raised each and every day on those platforms. It's for you as an organized force, I'll repeat again, for you to make them headlines. It's for you to put your structures together internationally, all over in South Africa, wherever you are based. Once you've got your structures together, that's how you expand. You make these things headlines. You make the whole world look at what is happening.
Sorry to interrupt. While you're on the issue of structure, because some people don't understand what structure is all about. It's about command and control.
Yes.
When you look at EFF, they call their leader Commander-in-Chief. People don't understand why. It's not because they're trying to define him. It means they take command from
the top.
From the top. Can you please elaborate?
Let me.
The importance of structure and taking instruction, because you're telling us now, organize yourself. How can we do that if there is no command in place?
You've got a political constitution. You've got a code of conduct which all of IPOB members are supposed to work towards. In any political organization, there is protocols to be followed. There's a structure which needs to be followed. We are all servants of the people in any political organization. A leader who's placed on top should not be aloof, but he should know that he's the best servant. He works the hardest, more than anybody else. And unfortunately, you're involved in a struggle of life and death. So you put your life on the line. Anybody who's I was once in your position where I knew I couldn't sleep at home because I was going to be killed. I knew I couldn't. My parents didn't even know where I was. But I preferred it that way because I would be killed. So within your structures, you've got to put your structures into order. From the chairperson, treasury, secretary, media person, political education officer, diplomacy, the one who interacts with all the... You are a political organization, you are above ground, you are not underground. Even in Nigeria, in the zoo, you are above ground. They know IPOB, you are above ground, you are not underground. I don't know, you are banned, but in all other countries of the world, you are above ground. So you operate from that platform, but all your structures have to be in order. From the top to the bottom have to be in order. Then the rest of the masses will gain.
Thank you very much. Then, before I just drop it here, I want to say something. Can you please tell the world, probably the Nigerian government, that when the youth says enough is enough, they will never stop?
Guaranteed.
They don't understand. They thought maybe if you kill 100 youths, 1,000, then the remaining ones will now be scared. But they don't understand. Because when I watch South African uprising, I see these guys being killed and they keep on moving. Can you explain to me? Let me explain to you. They don't understand.
I knew from a personal level to say this can't go on. And our elders were saying half a loaf of bread is better than than none at all. I said that half of loaf of bread is poison. Our motto was to say freedom in our lifetime. Freedom in our lifetime means I was ready to die. Yes. From the age of 16, I put myself up and ready to say, this is me. I'd better just die. And rather than living this thing again, I'd rather be dead. I cannot live under this oppression. I'd rather be dead. Others chose to go outside I didn't. I stayed in here. And through our underground movement, was able to fight the struggle powerfully. Because the masses who fought the struggle, the majority were inside the country, not those in exile. And not those, but the majority had those in exile came back, they gave us the guns, we started fighting, and all that. They gave us the political education to say the whole world is behind us. Because inside this country, we couldn't get, he's right, you can't get information because there's this blockade. But today we have social media. Right now there are people in Biafra land listening to me. We have social media also. So that is the type of mass mobilization. But once you've got that, you've got the ears and the ears and the hearts of the people, you are unstoppable. And it is true. Once the youth stands up, a young person has got no ties to family, to children, and he's ready to die.
They don't understand.
He's ready to die.
Thank you very much. Hold that thought. I've got my comrade here. Of course, he will introduce himself. He's got a question that he need to pose to you. And I do apologize because I know you are a very busy man. But trust me, It's difficult to get hold of you guys, but we got you today. So I'm just kidding. We will be done in a couple of minutes here. Mazi, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you so much, Mazi. My name is Mazi IKECHUKWU. Actually, I have got 2 questions here that I want to present to the panel. And the first question goes this way. Is the request for referendum not the best means of seeking for independence? Since IPOB and Biafrans, the Biafrans get killed for requesting for referendum, which is the means by which the Nigerian government is using to silence the request for the independence of Biafra. Then the second question goes to our comrade, Mazi Stone, Mr. Stone, yes, yeah. So actually, as an experienced freedom fighter that you are, during the request for South African independence from the apartheid regime, which was anchored by ANC, was ANC in any way attacked as a terrorist organization? If yes, how can such a scenario be handled in the case of Biafra and Nigeria, since IPOB and Biafrans has been tagged as terrorists in Nigeria just to silence the movement? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Of course, he is the coordinator here in Johannesburg. He is my boss, you know, so to say. I think the first question comes to you. Yeah. Asking for referendum a best way to go for it? Or are we making a mistake, or are we missing something somewhere? Please go ahead.
Well, look, thank you for that question. I actually was hoping to start looking at, the reason why I mentioned the 1957, 1967 to 1970, Biafra is because if you look at the 1946, when we had the United Nations coming in 1947 after the World War II, what basically happened from that particular moment is that it was declared, and it was a resolution that there is no country or there is no one who can now occupy any other land via means of occupation or by war. Now, that is an important aspect that I'm hoping that the people of Biafra are going to look at very importantly, because you must remember that in 1967, Biafra was independent and was then fought. So what basically happened in terms of international law is that was occupation, because it had independence and then it was fought and occupied. Today we talk about Israel and Palestine, and the issue that is in question is the occupation of in Palestine by Israel, or the spread. And you look at the Yom Kippur Wars, of 1967, 1973 and so forth, and there are still questions today, and the whole world is in support of the independence of Palestine. And the very same concept is the concept that we have here with the Biafran people, because they had the independence in 1967, post-1946, when the law had declared that there is no country that can now occupy another country by means of war, which is why Israel was forced to withdraw from the territories that it occupied during the Golan Heights War, when it massacred, the Egyptian plains and all that. This is the same principle that we're looking at, which is why I'm saying the referendum, the legal route that we're talking about, it is the best weapon to use today, because it is not easy to coordinate a war. And it's not something that can easily be done. But what needs to happen now, to the Biafrans, that's why I say the war, the struggle of the Biafrans is an African struggle. Remember, we've got South Cameroon, the Amazonia. Now, remember, we've got so many people that are unhappy about what is happening in their countries, because the level of democrats that we have, the Congolese people, Eastern Democratic Congo, over how many million people did not vote because of Ebola? Yet you are in a country where you say there is governance. So the referendum is just not only a tool, but it is a lawful means of requesting, and you cannot deny. In countries that are developed like, the UK, 100,000 signatures for a petition is already something that is going to be taken to the House of Commons. Now, we've got all this talk that has been going on, and what is so difficult in saying let us have the referendum. We don't want a referendum that you're going to say, let's have a referendum, you know, in Biafra, and then Nigeria is the one that is going to administer and run everything and stop people from doing this thing. So that at the end of the day, it's a shame kind of a referendum. Then say, yeah, look, they lost. Because they're going to intimidate people, start beating people and force them not to vote, you know, for the referendum. Because we know their modus operandi. This is Africa. You know, it's not like we fell. We were born here in Africa. We know how Africa operates. So we need to be vigilant. And we need to change this rhetoric and show that Africa is aware. The Arab Springs, they are actually one of those issues that show how Africa has been treated and how the people of Africa have had enough. So we should not just say we have had enough, but we must then implement these strategies in a more effective way. We must clamor for the rights that the Palestinian people are being accorded today. The United Nations is ever sitting because of the question of Israel and Palestine. But why is the question of Biafra not anywhere, you know, on the big map to be such a discussion? In fact, you've got the leader taken and arrested, and the world is almost mum as if nothing is happening. So, and when people have not picked any arms of war, but they're saying, let us talk, give us the platform to express ourselves, but to arrest such people. And then we say there is freedom of expression as enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We say there are political and civic rights as enshrined in the International Covenant on Civic and Political Rights. That is a shame. That is, we're an embarrassment to ourselves. So yes, the referendum is the way to go. And indeed, not only should that be, but I am of the view that litigation must start as soon as is yesterday. Every court, international tribunal must be flooded by petitions, by court papers. You know, the government of Nigeria must be summoned, you know, to different tribunals and courts to come and answer why it has arrested, you know, the leader of the Biafran people and why it is refusing to have the referendum set. And once it's agreed that the referendum must be set, we must not be blind.
Please hold that thought. There is something you said I want to, you know, build on before I forget about litigation.
Yes.
Can we, you know, bring Nigeria before a South African court here, you know, based on, you know, human rights violations? Of course, they have an embassy here. We can always summon their High Commission to come and answer to that effect, because it is an international law. So talk to me about it.
Well, look, it will have to work through regional bodies for only one reason. You have had South Africa now with the Zimbabwe exemption permits that it has said it is a sovereign state and it is allowed. So our African countries are very good at avoiding issues and hiding behind their fingers. They will hide behind sovereignty. That we have a right, you know, to sovereignty as enshrined in the AU Charter, and as a result, you know, we cannot be someone who can deal with these things in our own courts. So this is exactly what I'm saying, that when we talk litigation, one of the things that need to happen now is the clamoring that is taking place, and then we can, the Biafrans can take it to an international tribunal, which has got jurisdiction, because now, if South Africa, even if competently at law, that would obviously come, but the South African government, especially because the people of Biafra are now here in South Africa to say, but look, we are here, we are not catered for example, we don't even have papers, but this is our issue, we want it to be heard. You can have a class action, for example, you know, look at the issue of asylum seeking and say, look, we want all the people of Biafra to get asylum seekers, and then you have got a class case that goes to say, you know, you've got, you know, all these people seeking asylum, they must be given asylum, and you are taking that against the South African government, says South African government has ignored the plight of the people of Biafra, and then you can then cite, you know, as respondents as well, you know, the United Nations, you know, AU, the different, you know, commissioners, and of course the government of Nigeria to say, can they answer on that particular issue that the embassy can? Because that would be a daring and bold step, but it can be done. Though of course we know that they will avoid and say, look, stop sovereignty, you know, cuts here. So that is why it will be very important to say, if that step, for example, on asylum seekers is taken to court, it must then be taken to include that, but we will hear, of course, your lack of jurisdiction, but to say we want them to answer, because this is the government. We want it to come and answer here so that we can see.
Because, I mean, Biafrans are here, they live here, so where else do you want them to go to?
To go, yes. And you are not even recognizing the plight that they have. You must then bring, you know, say this is the matter that we have here. And of course, you know, that's where we are saying the issue is going to be lack of, you know, jurisdiction. But once you talk lack of jurisdiction, that's why, you know, the issue of taking it, you know, to the AU. Because you see, you cannot, as it were, take, as we have seen what happens in Africa. The courts in Africa, the judiciary in Africa, is in the majority of the cases not independent of the executive and the government. It is almost one and the same thing. You will realize that, the judiciary is captured, by the state to the extent that if you take a case against the state, in the majority of the cases, you are not likely to win because, the judges that we have, the bulk of them, they owe their allegiance, to the presidents that actually appointed. So they are puppets of these particular presidents. So that's why it really doesn't work very freely. We had, in South Africa, one independent, judge, the Chief Justice was just outgoing, who has shown a lot of independence, but you have seen the outcry.
Yes.
He has spoken freely about Israel.
Absolutely.
He speaks his mind freely, and they were not happy.
Yes.
And now so you can see what basically happens if you become a free judge. You
need to follow the status quo.
Exactly. So all what they want is, they want judges that are going to eat from, the presidents that appoint them. And that is where the problem is. But frankly speaking, it is my belief that litigation is going to go a long way. If we can have the people of Biafra chaptering, this map, have a 12 months plan, a 24 months plan. And we don't want 24 months. 24 months is too long. I mean, how do you spend a whole lifetime fighting for your independence and then you die still captive, still being, oppressed by your own people? The saddest thing is, no one is interested in fighting the domination of blacks by blacks. We were all coming together when it was the domination of blacks by whites. But now that it's black on black violence, we're all looking aside.
Yes, because our leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said that the problem we have as a black people is we always turn the other way.
Yes.
When evil is happening at our own backyard. That has been a problem of an African. Okay, in as much we might say anything about the Western world, there is something about them also. They speak out.
Yes.
Especially when it's happening around them.
Yes.
Now, let's forget about them speaking for us. I mean, come on, we are human.
Of course.
We can fight our own wars.
Indeed.
We can do our own thing. We mustn't be calling them come and fight for us or whatever.
Yes, yes.
Let Africa start from where they
talking
are.
for themselves.
Inferiority complex is killing us.
Let Benin Republic talk about the evil in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Let Togo talk about the evil in Nigeria. Stop calling Britain. Stop calling America. What about Africans? What are they doing? Zero.
In fact, what they are doing is our African brothers, they are actually being used as an instrument of further oppression, because if an oppressed Biafran is in South Africa, the bulk of the people that are not enlightened to understand these African problems, they will say, you must go back to fight your war there in Biafra. Yeah. We fought our own wars here in South Africa. Go and set yourself independent. I mean, it's a warped up view and warped up mentality that people cannot even understand what they're saying. People talk. You see what is happening is African people, they see only as far as their noses, and that is, or their mouth, not noses, their mouth, that is their food. For as long as I'm hungry and I'm scrambling, I'm thinking, he's sitting here
eating my food.
He's eating my food. He's taking my space. But you are not looking at the fact that why is he sitting here? How can I ensure that he sits where he wants to sit? You must ask him first. Do you want to sit where you are sitting?
A woman at one of the I think it's at this camp. I think we had some altercation. Then she went to the cashier. She was so upset. I said to her, why did you allow these people to be ruling you in this country? I'm like, who is these people talking about? They've ruled you for too long. Do you understand African mentality?
Yes.
Or one thing they forgot is that you cannot live in isolation.
Yeah.
That is what you call the League of Nations. That is how people
the whole world
survive. All right. Hold that thought, because I will still come back to you. I need to find out what is it that you will be doing for IPOB here in South Africa, and also other questions relating to your relationship with the indigenous people of Biafra here in South Africa. Comrade Stone.
I must answer the question
yes,
on
please
terrorism. You know what is terrorism, comrade? Terrorism is if I threaten you, I injure you, I come to your family, I terrorize your family. I mean, I don't understand why Biafrans are called terrorists. Okay, we were called terrorists as well. Because, but remember who we were terrorizing. We were terrorizing our oppressors. We never went to our own people and terrorized them, killed them. Are you doing that? No. So why are you called terrorist? Because you're not terrorizing your people. What? So this, but I love one thing. The United Nations hasn't called you terrorist.
Absolutely.
No, the US, no, the UK, no any other government has called IPOB terrorist. It's only the Nigerian government which has called you. But who are you terrorizing? You're terrorizing them because you are standing up for yourselves. So for me, we were given the term terrorist because we went, took up arms, came back, we terrorized them. We did. We did terrorize them, and at some instance, we started with terrorizing their army and the police, and then because all their civilians were also involved in terrorizing our people, we reacted to them with defense. Another thing about the right, it's in the United Nations articles. Besides the right of self-determination, you have a right of self-defense. United Nations Article 51. Any nation or community which feels that the government is not serving them has a right to secede from that government, but there's also a right to defend themselves against atrocities developing. It's in the United Nations article. That's why I'm saying some of these things are written in law, but it's only that they must be implemented. You have a right of self-defense. You have a right to stand up and defend your people. That's what we said to ourselves. We said they are using a gun against us. We have a right to defend ourselves.
Yes, self-defense is alienable.
It's an inalienable right. Yeah.
All right, Comrade Stone, before you continue on that, let me take this call, very, very important. Caller on WhatsApp, can you hear me? Caller on the WhatsApp line. Caller, can you hear me?
Yes, Mazi, good morning.
There, well, good evening from here. Oh, I keep saying good evening because I'm always on the evening program. All right, good morning from here, Mazi. Please go ahead. Tell us your names and where you calling from, and then your question.
Mazi, good morning once again. My name is Kajetan.
Yes, go
ahead. I'm calling from South Africa, Northwest Province, Potchefstroom.
Yes, go ahead, Maz. We are listening.
Yes, Maz, my question goes this way to the interview that is conducting this Monday about our situation in Nigeria. What is happening in Nigeria? Rendition that they have been rendition our Nnamdi. What is African Union saying about it? And what is Africa and the rest of Africans saying? Have they not been saying what is happening in Nigeria? Killings everywhere and other things. We know African Union have to say something, they have to act, but they just keep quiet. They are not saying anything. All this while, or how many years? This Biafra issue started from 67 to 70. We lost more than 5 million people.
All right, Mazi, I think we get your question. Because of time, I think we've got your question. Thank you very much for that, Mazi.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I think this question has already been answered, with regards to African Union and what they're doing or what they are not doing. Let me take this one more question again. I think it's a caller on Skype. Caller on Skype, can you hear me? Thank you for holding. You've been holding for a while now. Mazi IKECHUKWU on Skype, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, my prof. How are you?
Everybody's calling me prof. Yes, but let's set the record straight. I am a professor of law and history at the University of Radio Biafra. Please go ahead before I get sued. Go ahead, please. I have some legal mind here, so I need to set the record straight before they start asking questions. Which university is that? Go ahead, please.
Okay, Malueni up, Malueni.
Molo.
Yeah, Malueni.
See, we stayed here for too long. We need to go home now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for coming around. I'm so happy to have you guys. It will go a long way to help what you are doing. I have a request from me to you guys before I ask my question. My first request is, please. Don't stop what you're doing. Speak out for the oppressed people in Africa. You were once there. We never shy away from you guys. In 1982, I was part of the people who was paying my PTA in school to help liberate our brothers in Africa, in South Africa at that point. We never share our way. Mandela was there before he left to here, you know. So we never ran away from the responsibility that Elohim has given to us in Africa, a task that we must all work together. I'm asking the youth of South Africa, in ANC, in EFF, in DA, and the other parties, here, IFP, you guys have been there. You can come and lecture us and tell us, because I hear you guys are well led and well have a wisdom in what we are doing. We've been there before, and we are going through that process that you people went. It's becoming very ugly if you watch what is happening in the internet, how our people are being killed and massacred just because they ask for freedom. So please, guys, let it not be the last time we are going to hear you guys coming on the radio. We want EFF to come and other parties to come and lecture us on what we need to do. I like when you talk about the structure of IPOB. We do have a very strong structure, and we do have people also who has decided to collect money from the zoo, or we call them zoo, call Nigeria, because it's an animal kingdom. It's the only country in Africa where you have army doing the police job and army going around adopting and slaughtering people. You have a country where you've been arrested in one city, you are moved to a camp in a different city to go and torture and kill. You only have the army in Africa where they roast human beings like as if they are doing a bride meat. There's only Nigeria where the army cannot fight the borders. They only fight the citizens and make sure that they depopulate. I don't know if some Western world are involved in what is happening in the zoo. But having said that, my question this morning is going to be, can you guys tell our people, why do you refer Nigeria as a giant of Africa, where Nigeria as a country has no law, has no basis of standing? They don't obey their own law. They go into other countries and break their own law also. Just like, I remember one of our brother here was saying, how did the Kenyan government allow this to happen? Not only Kenyan government. Ramaphosa is one of the leaders in Africa. He knows what is happening in Nigeria. He went to meet Buhari. He knows that
We are Biafrans. We are to make a better day, so let's start giving.
Buhari is dead, but nobody is speaking.
Because of time, Mazi, if you
okay,
summarize. Yes, please.
How do you refer Nigeria as a big brother in Africa? There's nothing like Nigeria, guys. There's nothing like Nigeria. There's no Nigeria. We are not Nigeria. Everyone is crying out in that country. Please, don't let us to go through this.
I need to also excuse you guys as well to let you go. So I will take one or two more calls, and then I have a final question. I think about two questions which I have to pose to our legal person here, Dr. Sibanda. Very, very important. All right, let me do this quickly, and then of course, because I need to release you, I don't want to take advantage the fact that you guys came through and then we keep you here forever. Please, we do apologize. It's just that our people need to hear what they are hearing today. That is the thing. All right, we must continue with this Radio Biafra. Let's take this question. Mazi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mazi IKECHUKWU ONUOHA.
All right, good morning from here. Mazi, quickly, your question, your names please, where you're calling from, and then your question. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Emmanuel Chibuze Ekwato. I am born at Ikenga, Uluwago. And Mazi, please allow me to say something before.
All right, briefly, go ahead because of time.
Yes. Let me say wonderful morning to your panel, especially Comrade Stone. I thank both of them. They are amazing. And I want to tell them this, and I want them to think about it. You know, what can make somebody to experience xenophobic attack and yet refuse to go on is bigger than xenophobic attack 1 billion times. Secondly, what can make somebody, they provided flight for you to go home free, don't pay anything, just go home. The person refused and remain in South Africa sleeping on the street of Hebrew is bigger than homeless. And when we go to Malabastard for asylum paper or documents, you will realize that the immigration is giving more attention to Somalia, all these people, as if what they are witnessing in their place is bigger than what we saw in our place before we run away. But little did they know that Somalia is United States of America to compare what is going on in Nigeria. But news will not tell you, media platform, big word, they will not tell you anything about it. But that just by the way, my question is, I want to ask your panel, why is it that South Africa Immigration Service don't want to recognize that Biafrans, we are at war with Nigeria? Why is it that they don't want to recognize it? This is my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Let's hold that thought. And then, of course, before we actually take that question, he asked and say why, the South African government doesn't want to recognize, what is happening in Nigeria. All right. I mean, it's going to be a difficult one for you because you don't speak for the government.
Once again,
you will say your own.
I don't speak for the South African government. I will not speak for them. But my assessment is that I keep on saying to you, the Somali struggle is publicized all over the world. That's the South African government took the stance to say the Somalians are refugees, can seek asylum. Even the Zimbabwe special permits was because the Zimbabwe case was in our next door. And we would see the struggles of the Zimbabweans. And thus they were given those special permits 10 years ago. And that's why the case to say there is a struggle economically for Zimbabweans there. Have you got the ears of the world, the ears of South Africa enough to say, or made, he's saying it, my comrade here, Dr. Sibanda, he says make representations to tribunals, make representations to even the South African government and say this is what we are talking about, even if it means taking them to court to say we are asylum seekers. We didn't run away there because we wanted to. We ran away. We just didn't come to South Africa to pollute it and take away the economic freedoms of South Africans and their jobs. But there is a problem at home. That is the issue which has to be recognized internationally. South Africa is not, it's a complicated issue. It's always been complicated to say, why do you recognize one state as asylum seekers and the other ones you say, no, they can't be. So I can't speak for the South African government. That's my opinion.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Let me take this call and then I'll ask the last question to Dr. Sibanda, and then we have to close because time is against us. Caller on the line, can you hear me? Mazi, can you hear me?
Yes. Am I coming out?
Yes, loud and clear.
Hello?
Please, your names, please, and where you're calling from. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mazi IKECHUKWU.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the great job you are doing to IPOBs all over the world. To our August visitors, thank you very much. Comrade Stone and Dr. Moses Fonda, you are welcome. My name is Chukwuma. I am from Achina in Agwata local government, Biafra land. But recently I am in South Africa, living in Port Elizabeth, particularly. I must acknowledge the comrades that is there making things happen. The national coordinator in the person, and the mobilizers and Mazi IKECHUKWU and all the comrades. Job well done. Please, my question, I won't waste much of your time. My question is, basically two of you that visited us, I acknowledge you are present. You don't marvelously come in to respond to us. If ANC has not said anything concerning Biafra restoration, according to what you responded to one of the caller, how do they think the migration will start? If they can't talk about the cause of Africa, how would they stop it? Do you understand? If they can't talk about the causes of African migration to South Africa in particular. Secondly, why should the indigenous Africa have to travel to Africa? Why it is not like that in Europe? I just don't understand it, so that you guys, two of you that is there, you can elaborate very much for our listeners to understand. And again, finally to Comrade Stone, now you are a member of ANC, if I'm not mistaken, and you are here to speak on behalf of the Biafrans. Do you think the ANC, those who do not want what we are doing, do you think they will not come against you? Because I know the house is divided. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
All right, thank you very much. Well, I need you to understand that South Africa is a free nation. Your freedom of speech, freedom of expression is guaranteed in the four cornerstones of the constitution of this country. So this is not Nigeria. This is not the zoo. So, because if it was the zoo, as you are talking here, the military they will break this door down. They will break this door down, and all of us are going. All of us are, and first of all, they will assault us nicely, and then
can I answer that question? These freedoms which I'm enjoying came with blood, sweat.
Yes.
It came with blood of martyrs, which I stand by now. I can name them. There are many people who shed blood for these freedoms that I'm enjoying now. But as I said, the ANC hasn't taken a policy decision on the struggles of Biafra because it has not been discussed. Because of COVID, we've never had a policy conference. We're supposed to have, but in the ANC, we do discuss issues. The ANC, the African National Congress, from branch level, from branch to region, from region to province, from province to national, all the branches do discuss issues which affect Africa. There's a particular department of policy, there's a department of political education. We do discuss these issues. Why are so many Nigerians here? Why are so many Zimbabweans? Then we give direction when we go to the policy conference. From policy conference, then a decision is taken on national conference. That hasn't happened yet. So wait for it, and I don't know if I am an ordinary member of the ANC, but of course I participate in all these discussions. My point of view will be taken into account and other people's point of views. So there will be opposing point of views, of course. Some people are saving capitalism, some people serve other masters. But I also serve the people of the world and the people of Africa. I'm an Africanist. That's my point of control. That's my point of departure in anything that I do. So I will put my points of view across in those arguments, in those policy conference, until I give direction to the organization. I don't know if it makes sense to you. They haven't. Not that they don't discuss it. They discuss on all levels, from branch to region to province. It's discussed by members of the ANC.
Thank you very much. I think it makes sense a lot, and I must tell you here, your minister of Lindiwe Zulu.
Yeah.
She was my colleague. We worked together in Vodacom.
Yeah.
Before she went to Russia.
Yeah.
She was in Russia as an ambassador, and she came back. She knows me well, and we worked together. We were colleagues. Because at the time I was working I was a bodyguard to the CEO of Vodacom, Alan Not Craig.
Yeah.
I was his bodyguard in 1999.
Yeah.
So Lindiwe Zulu joined us, I think around 2003 or 2004. She worked briefly with us in Vodacom. Was Zinzi Mandela, of a blessed memory. While I was in the forensic department, I used to go to her because she was a platinum customer. So I was dedicated to her. If she loses her phone, laptop or whatever, I have to trace with the police, we go and recover. So I've had a good relationship with all these people. But when it comes to the issue of Biafra, you know, everybody's like, it's not our policy. It's not our policy.
Not yet.
Not yet. Exactly. Do you understand?
It has to be discussed by the NC.
I do understand where they're coming from, because an individual cannot take a decision.
No.
It has to be a collective one.
Yeah. And we fight for all positions. Maybe maybe the police won't even happen this year, but it might happen in the next year, to say, okay, comrades, let's make a decision on the next conference on this issue. Comrades, let's take a decision. This issue is becoming too hot. The whole world is... Cyril Ramaphosa cannot take a decision on his own.
And can we, as an organization, through our legal person, come with documents to say, this is what we're asking for?
Yes, you make representation directly to the NC, directly to the government, directly to the EFF and all. You as an organization have a right in this country to say, this is our representation, we want to make a presentation. You guys don't understand what we're going through. This is what you have to do. But it's not only for you, it's for everybody who's international. Those in Cambodia do the same thing, in Vietnam do the same thing, all over the world. You've got to do that. That's how we won the struggle. We had people placed all over the world. We were making noise all over the world. And the world realized to say, there's something wrong in that South Africa. It's not what we thought. And we didn't use popular media, as people say. We used people on the ground. Slowly build up momentum.
I think I must also commend our leadership here, our national coordinator and our coordinator as well, and the executive as well, you know, for getting you guys on board. It means that they can see the future, they can see ahead, because we know this is not something we can do on our own. We need people out there who are intellectual, who knows, who can direct us on the right path to go. And of course, I believe that this relationship is going to yield fruit very soon. All right, in closing, Dr. Sebanda, these questions are for you. All IPOB members here in South Africa, they're actually eagerly waiting to hear from you. With your expertise, you know, as an activist and of course as a lawyer, what exactly is it that you will be, you know, capable to solve for us as IPOBians here in South Africa? What issues, you know, would you get involved in? You know, because our people here knows that we have a legal person on our side, but they want to know, what is he going to do for us? Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Look, from the discussions that we've had with the leadership of the IPOB, one of the things that we have already, you know, discussed is the issue of, you know, making legal, you know, representations to the government of South Africa. We know that, unfortunately, Comrade Stone sitting next to me, being a member of the ANC, I'm not very happy and chuffed, you know, the issue of Africans in South Africa. I think the ANC has betrayed the trust, and that has been bestowed upon it, you know, by the African people to get where it is. Because you see, a good friend, it doesn't matter how things get hard and hot, you don't turn away from your friends. And you must recognize the fact that, you know, ANC was, you know, much assisted, you know, by other African nations to where it is today. And for that particular reason, it does not matter that today we have got extremists, right-wing extremists. I mean, before we even start from ANC, we've seen this happen in the US, you know, with the great crazy, sorry my language and French for that, Mr. Trump. And we have seen it here happening in South Africa. We have had it starting from the DA, from, you know, Action SA and so forth. And obviously, some of the positions that are being taken by the government of South Africa are obviously as a result of a response to how they are losing elections. But they want to now try and find, you know, a scapegoat and use migrants and foreigners as an excuse. But they don't want to look at the corruption, you know, all these issues, the infighting that is happening as a result, and the failure to deliver what is required. So that is a problem. But in any case, so that's just on the side where we show my frustration, because it is a huge frustration. I mean, you know, but the biggest concern is for the people of Biafra, you know, and our discussion is basically looking at saying, one, the first thing is basically to get the South African government, either through the courts, you know, through class action, to basically say, but look, the people of Biafra are here in South Africa as, you know, asylum seekers and refugees, because they cannot live in their country.
Can you break it down for us to a layman perspective? What is cluster action? Because not everybody is illegal. These are legal jargon.
Yes, I mean, when we're looking at a class action, we're actually saying, rather than a single person just going to court and saying, I want asylum, we are looking at a situation because there is a representative organization, which is the Ipob, which is representing, and has got membership, across South Africa of the Biafrans, so that the Ipob will then take a class action, a court that represents the bulk of its people, make representations to the government, of South Africa, and also take a case to court. I mean, first step is going to be obviously looking at it from a cordial perspective to say, in terms of, we want government of South Africa to take a policy decision as regards the position of the people of Biafra. And because this is the position, this is the situation, they have seen the abduction of Kanu, the leader in Kenya, and that is the situation which faces all the people, and the crime that the leader of the Biafrans committed, and that is being charged with, is incitement, because people protested. So in all fairness, the right to protest action is guaranteed in the South African Constitution and in the ICCPR. If you're not happy, you must protest against what you're unhappy with. But if now, for protesting, you are then being arrested, it can therefore explain why the people of Biafra cannot stay there, because they cannot express themselves freely.
And one more thing, he was also being charged for insulting the president.
There you go. People insult God. I mean, we have people that believe in God, and that don't believe in God, and some believe in Allah, and what, but they insult all these deities. Now, what are you telling me?
Pharaoh said to Moses, "Who is your God that I was listening to him?"
Exactly. And now you want to tell us that you're going to charge people for insulting a human being. I mean, because you don't agree with them. I mean, it's in all fairness. I mean, this is not democracy. Democracy says, people, if a president is insulted in a manner that is defamatory, he can take, a lawsuit.
It's a criminal injury.
Exactly. But in this particular case, we were talking about political issues, and you can even tell a person that is a political idiot because of the things that is done. And that's not an insult. I mean, he can substantiate.
Apparently, somebody poured a beer on Zuma shoes. Remember?
Yeah.
Yes.
Has he been killed?
No. Not arrested.
So when you look at that, so the whole plan is basically to say these representations need to be made to the South African government, and I doubt the South African government is going to do anything about it. But obviously after that, I think the next one is going to be court action, that will have definitely, to force the South African government, or in general the issue of the people, independent people of Biafra that are here, that have fled, they are part of the country because they cannot live there because of those, and to collect all the information, in fact, that relate to that particular case, because it's a very huge case, starting from all the atrocities that started way back in 1967, coming to all the murders and the abduction and all that, and you say, but these people are here, so they need to be recognized as asylum seekers, because if they have to go back to their country, they want to self-determine, but they are denied the right to self-determine. So it's going to be a novel case again, in the sense that one is class action, two, it's actually saying you need to declare the people of Biafra as asylum seekers and refugees in their holistic view, rather than to look at it.
And would I be right if I say a stateless people?
Yes, indeed, a stateless people, because in their own state they cannot self-determine, they are not allowed to do that. So as a result, a position needs to be taken. And that is why I also say, look, this is an African struggle, because it is not, only unique to the people of Biafra, it is also similar to the people of Amazonia. It is similar to quite a number of people, the Hutu and Tutsi people. We don't talk about that particular situation. We don't talk about the oppression and suppression that is taking place in Rwanda there, because we've got the strongman who comes in and says, look, the country is doing quite well, but the country seems to be doing quite well on the blood of people that are not allowed to speak out openly and freely. So this is why this case becomes very unique, because then it then opens those doors, the debt that we're always sweeping under the carpet, say, no, African issues, we're going to solve them the African way. And the African way is to say, you shut up, don't say anything. We don't want to tell our people that things are dirty in here. The person who feels how painful the shoe is pinching or how it fits is the one who wears it. The Biafran people are not in South Africa because they want to be. A lot of people think that, look, people want to be in South Africa because it's nice to be in South Africa. No. People are in South Africa because they have been left without an alternative and an option. And in South Africa, one of the reasons why people want to come here is the semblance of constitutionalism is a bit better and a bit higher, and it's relatively fair. Talk about that. when people talk about, fair, there are significant traces of dictatorship and oppression in South Africa. By the way, comrade, I was stripped of my ZEP in 2020 for taking the Department of Home Affairs, to court over migrants. I was targeted, stripped on the street. I met an official. To come to me in Rivonia to say, look, you must leave the television to speak about a very small doctor person like me. Do you understand?
That's the power of law.
Now, that's the power of law, and the power of activism is that I believe that's why I'm saying the struggle of the Biafran, people is the struggle of the African people. The voices need to be amplified. The struggle is that there is something that's going on, and in order for that to happen, every court, every tribunal, every international, court or system needs to be aware, and this has to come through the collation of information, incidents that are taking place, and this radio station. This is one of the biggest steps that the people of Biafra have taken to open a station where they can broadcast and talk about these issues, and this must continue systematically to make sure that people are aware and conscientize. Nigeria and Biafra, but they talk out of lack of knowledge, because our leaders do not want to conscientize people. They are depriving us of information so that we can make informed decisions. If this information is made freely available so that people can understand, countries that are dictators, like what is happening in Nigeria, Biafra, they then stranglehold the dissemination of information. They control the majority of the media. They will even black out, internet. So
that's basically what they did to us during the Civil War. There was media blackouts.
Exactly.
Blind journalism.
There you go. So all of these issues that we're looking at, that and this idea of Radio Biafra is one of the most intelligent ideas that a lot of Africans fail to basically work on, because once you are now standing in opposition in order to protect the people and get people to know information.
And sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
You see, as small as this radio station is, it's giving Nigerian government sleepless night. They have spent billions to stop this radio.
Because it's an oppressor.
But you know what they forgot? That the radio has gone digital. Yes. It's no longer those days where you see a very big mass. Please go ahead.
Yes. So what we are therefore looking at is basically, those are the first steps that we're looking at. And one of the issues, obviously there is an intensification of this, we are hoping that some of these cases will have to play out in Nigeria itself. Because at the end of the day, we can't shy away and keep running away, and say it should play out here. So who knows, with the advice that we're discussing and the opportunities that we're actually looking at, once these declarations have basically taken place and this recognition, some of these cases will have to be taken to the Nigerian courts to say to see what exactly is happening, and get international community and radios, especially in the world of international media, so that if these courts are petitioned in Nigeria to say, but wait a minute, the independent people of Biafra say they want a referendum, and in terms of these particular provisions, and these steps should therefore be followed. And let's hear what they are going to say. So this is going to be an interesting phenomenon, because these discussions that what I'm preempting are issues that we've already looked at, and that we are hoping that they should basically play. So we might be seeing a contingent of the people of Biafra that are here traveling, to Nigeria with a team of attorneys and so forth, to see if this matter is going to be heard there in Nigeria, and hear what the government of Nigeria is going to answer and say, and see if they are going to be abducted. We've seen one of activists who went to, recently she was in Cameroon, she was arrested in Cameroon. When she got there, she was detained, for about 48 hours. So we need to see, there is a lot of organizations in South Africa that are working in solidarity with the people of Africa, especially NGOs and so forth, that are human rights based. So we want to see more activism taking place. And we want to see, like what happened when, Musi Maimane was arrested in Zambia.
Yes.
When he went to Zambia and he was returned. But now is HH. HH is finally, the president of that country. So we need to see this solidarity, especially from the oppressed people. Once the oppressed are going to stand up, you see, injustice anyway. Once we allow injustice to take place anyway, it is a threat to justice the world over. Absolutely. And anyone who watches a person being oppressed and does not say anything is an oppressor himself or herself. So, by and large, every person that has heard the story of the Biafrans but has looked aside is in cahoots with the oppressor, with the government of Nigeria that is denying the people of Biafra the self-determination. Why do you deny a person, to be free, to do what they want? Because this world is about freedom. We cede the rights freely. Maybe just to try and, bring this concept of the constitution, a little bit closer. The two proponents of constitutionalism have always said one thing, that look, when people say we want to be governed, they come and say we want to cede our rights willfully to you. And now, you do not use those rights and those powers to please yourself. Yes. Because immediately you fail to please these people, they tell you, hey,
we need it back.
We need it back. They tell you go. If you refuse, they are allowed to revolt and kick you out, even violently. And that is the part of constitutionalism that is not taught at law school. You are not, there is no emphasis on the fact that you must be ejected violently.
And they will call it incitement.
They call it incitement.
You give it a bad name.
Imagine, violently means you must even carry guns and ammunition and fight. But when we talk about violently here, we're talking about people protesting, we're saying that is violence. That's
I think it was the king of France in those days. They cut off his head.
Yes, you've got to be cut off, your head must be cut off. Because, you see, when we talk about incitement, we talk about treason. Which is very sad. What is more treasonous than a leader who sells his country to neo-colonialists, to imperialists, to people? And then you want to charge people that are saying they are speaking against you and say they are the ones that are treasonous. They are the ones that are inciting, an overthrow of a government. The government was put in by the people. And if the people don't want it and they want it overthrown, they must be allowed to express themselves, say, no, we don't want this government. If we want to call for a vote, a special vote, it must be done. So, I like South Africa, Comrade Stone. I need to emphasize that. But there are things I don't like that happen in South Africa. If you look at the vote of no confidence that happened during the President Zuma era, I must tell you, in 2016 I had a meeting with the Democratic Alliance when we had one of these actually in Cape Town, we were discussing liberalism in Africa and some of these concepts. And I asked them, but guys, you keep on having this vote of no confidence and you don't have a secret panel. What is your problem? Because the constitution is permissive. As long as you want people, an act of saying people must vote by lifting hands is on its own an act of denying people their right to privacy.
Yeah.
You want to oppress.
Yes.
Exactly. So that they can. You see, that is what the problem is. Now, allow people. If you allow people, as it is, as we stand today, if in the next election, South African election that is coming, is in 2024.
Yeah.
In 2024, with what is happening, and they have a secret ballot to elect the president, you might be shocked that not an ANC president might arise. Even these, they might agree on a compromise candidate who does not belong to these parties or somebody that is relatively independent who will then become a president, because people are fed up of this theory of trying to oppress people mildly and softly, trying to do things as if you are showing, that it's allegiance, that people must always vote on party lines and all this and that. Because when people join political parties and do all these things, you don't take away their freedom as individuals. You must give them the freedom to choose. Look at what is happening with the COVID that happened in the UK. The very same government people that are supporting the president, will withdraw their own support. That's the kind of freedom that, if we're going to talk about pure constitutionalism, we are saying allow every person to speak their mind. If you have an idea, even if I belong to a political party, I have an idea or you want me to buy your idea, convince me of it, let me buy it. But don't say by merely associating, I must therefore agree to each and everything that is there. In Africa, we are not in agreement with what is happening in general. We are not in agreement with the borders that were imposed, on African states and countries. We are not going to unite on the basis of the unity that is prescribed by other people and forced on us. When we decide that we want to unite, we must first be free. How can I unite with someone who is free when I'm not free? Allow me the freedom to be free and express myself freely, so that when I become united with someone, I am uniting on my own terms and conditions. I don't have terms and conditions. I cannot even self-determine, but you are saying I must unite. Who am I uniting with and for whose benefit? So what we are therefore saying is, the struggle that we are embarking on, and our lead, a client or people in this particular case are the people of Biafra, is to say, we have written, by the way, to the government of South Africa, rather, let me say to the president, when he was chairperson of AU.
Yes.
Yes. I'll tell you the content of the letter. We wrote to him as the African diaspora, and our issue was, during the xenophobic attacks in 2019, Nigeria said South Africa is allowing, xenophobia to take place here. And it is allowed, because it is allowing that, now South Africa needs to be isolated, and there were all these, up to the stage where the president had to send an envoy to countries. We then wrote, and it was provocative, and the president did not respond to that. We wrote 3 times. We said, look, Mr. President, this is a good opportunity. Nigeria attacked South Africa.
Yes.
About the xenophobic attacks. We want you, Mr. President, now that you are chair, to ask Nigeria that why are the people of Nigeria so full
in my country?
What is happening? What is happening in your country? Can you tell us? You are a president of a country, but you have got 50% of your population outside that country. Because the president is a coward as he is. He did not respond to that letter. We wrote 3 times. They have not responded. They will not respond to that. No, because in the AU, they sit down, they have coffee in their small little cups, they laugh at each other, giggle as if, they understand anything. But they are sitting there because they're saying, I know I've got my own closet that is full of debt. So if I start poking on his debt,
they will expose me.
They will expose me. And if it happens, if the people of Biafra, you see what the problem is? If the people of Biafra get free today, because there is a referendum they are supported, that is going to give a chain reaction to all the African people that are oppressed and are in governments which they don't want to be, because they are not self-determining. That is why every president in Africa doesn't want that to happen. The Hutus will want to go out. The Mandela people in Zimbabwe want to go out. The Zulu people might say, oh, wait a minute, we are sick and tired of this, Ramaphoria business and what. Let us self-determine under our own king here. The Zulu people say, forget it. We just want Mrs. Zulu, to become our king, and we become a kingdom, forget and leave us alone. And the people of Amazonia will say, so you can see the chain. The people of DRC, so you see the chain reaction that is going to come out of that.
But it's inevitable.
It is inevitable. But what they are doing now is they are delaying it. Now, it might have to take another 3-4 generations before it really kicks in, if there is no different wave that comes in. But this issue of the Biafran people might actually become a catalyst.
It's a trigger.
Yes, that might even open eyes of a lot of people to then get them to see that, but look, we have an alternative. The problem this far in Africa is that people of Africa don't know there is an alternative. As much as there may be no guns, but there is an alternative. And that alternative is to stand up and speak loudly, and even go to a position of saying, let us kick out this trade union of African Union presidents that are dictators. Because the African president, maybe not one of them, is not a dictator. Because all of them, they use dictatorial tendencies everywhere. They do not allow people to freely speak, because if they allow people to freely speak, are you aware that all these countries that we're talking about have constitutions? As a lawyer, do you know how many lawyers know constitutional law? Their constitution? Very few.
Yes, of course.
They even have got their rights of being infringed upon when they are lawyers. Why? Because constitutional law, the constitution is not made important. But if we begin right now to say, you have a right to human dignity, you have a right to freedom of expression, and we start to teach that at primary school, so that our kids from kindergarten, they understand that they may not be oppressed. They understand the freedom of expression, so that they sing it, and every household in Africa has got its constitution in their own language. You will see the change.
My little boy, whenever I tell him something, he said to me, why? Initially, I get offended. How dare you say why to me?
Yes.
After a while, I realize this is his right.
Exactly.
I need to explain to him why.
Yes.
All right. Let's take a quick break before we finish our, just a few minutes break, and then we'll come back and do our party shot, and then of course we will allow our people to go. It's more like we have just kidnapped them here because they have overstayed their time. But my goodness me, are we loving it or what? So we will be back after this, and then we will do our party shot. Don't go away.
Thank you.
Online. OB Community Radio, Radio Biafra, the first and the last. Every day. Because of the world, one Nigeria. We need freedom now, like never before.
Take us out from Gomorrah. Carry your children, come on for Egypt. It beat me like a war, it beat me like a local. Return to Moses where you will give us. My people just they die. My people just they return to Joshua where you will give us. Give us the David where you will give us. Our is one love, one nation, one Biafra, one Niger. Our is one love, one nation, one Biafra, one Niger. As they know what make we live. Fire. Show them the disaster where you been show Pharaoh. Yeah, as they know what make we be. Bring back the flocks, give them the dead. All we need is peace, unity every day. Make we there on our own, may they stay for their place. All we need is Biafra. All we need is peace, unity every day. Make we there on our own, may they stay for their place. All we need is Biafra, freedom. Papa Biko, take us out from Gomorrah. Carry your children, come on for Egypt. It beat me like a war, it beat me like a local. Return to Moses where you will give us. My people just they die. My people just they cry. Return to Joshua where you will give us. My people just they die. My people just they cry. Return to Joshua where you will give us. As the matter one be, we not be zombie. Nigga area dirty. Why you plenty? All we need is one love, one nation, one Biafra, not the Niger. All we need is one love, one nation, one Biafra, not the Niger. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of Ipob worldwide. Ipob no one in the Netamika Ibionite Judaism worldwide.
Get it online on your mobile. This is Ipob Community Radio, Radio Biafra, the first and the last.
Cancel.
Get it online on your mobile. This is IPOB Community Radio, Radio Biafra, the first and the last. Get it online on your mobile. This is IPOB Community Radio, Radio Biafra, the first and the last. All right, welcome back once again. It is Radio Biafra. My goodness me, what a day, what a program. I must tell you, I am loving it, and I know you also is loving what is going on. I do apologize. Our phone is buzzing, but unfortunately, the time is out. This gentleman has been here in this studio for almost 3 hours, and we cannot keep them any longer. I cannot keep a lawyer for over 3 hours that he would charge me for kidnap, you know. And I want you guys to understand one thing. When a lawyer is talking, you don't tell him it's over or it's enough. Do you know why? A magistrate has to wait for these people to do their closing argument. He can choose to do it for 10 hours. The only thing a magistrate can do is say to him, can we adjourn so you continue tomorrow? You don't say to him, hey, you've spoken too much, so you can stop now. You dare not say that to a lawyer. When he said closing, a lawyer have the right to speak for 20 hours if he wants to. That's one thing I've learned in the courts here in South Africa and also as a legal student. All right, we are trying to summarize, we are trying to close. Before I hand over to Comrade Stone for his parting shot, there is one more question left, which is, this is from the people, IPOB here in South Africa. Dr. Sibanda, they want to know from you, your team, are you willing to travel? Because IPOB is not only here in Johannesburg, they are all over, South Africa. All right. So the question I'm getting here is they say, are you willing, you and your team willing to travel outside Gauteng province to any of the other provinces if it warrants so? Please go ahead.
Well, look, we have. Well, they might not be aware, but already, when we first had a meeting with the IPOB, leaders, they discussed that, people are all over, South Africa. And of course, as our clients and, we are bound, to get to the smallest corner, or the furthest part of the country, wherever they are, so that, we can try and, as much as possible, get them, given the power that they need to understand what their rights are and what they need, to be addressed on. So the answer definitely is yes. We are more than ready to go anywhere they are.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. All right, Comrade Stone, this is the party shot, and of course, if there's anything I'm forgetting, of course, Comrade here will also inform me. Now, before you give us your closing and your parting, shot, I just want to. Sorry about that. People are still calling, but unfortunately, we cannot take your calls anymore because I think our time is up. All right. What I wanted to say is this. I've told you what I've done in South Africa, in terms of the work that I've done. I've worked with the police. I go to court. I give testimony as an expert witness based on tracing of cell phone. That is my specialization. I studied it in the university, forensics. This is where I have actually added value to South African economy. What am I trying to say? I think it will do South African government good if they will try to understand, the capacity of the people, the visitors they have in their country. The problem South Africa is having with foreigners is that they ignore them. They don't care how they live or how they fare. And then, human being, you have to survive. No maganja. Do you understand the thing? So I don't know what you have to say to this, because in America, it's not everybody in America are, indigenous Americans. Some are foreigners. The doctors they have, everything they have are foreigners. All these men you see here, there are things they've done before they even came to South Africa, which they can do to add to the economy of this country. And I believe if South Africa is hosting you as a foreigner, there must be something you are contributing to the economy of South Africa positively. But now the government has to give you the leeway to do that. That brings me to the issue of the Zimbabweans who are lawyers in this country. They don't want them to practice, which is wrong. They've studied here, they've graduated, they are lawyers. I understand there are protocols, there are rules in the country that must be obeyed. But then again, for the fact that they are here, this is where they live. They say that South Africa belongs to all that live in it. So if somebody lives in South Africa, he must be allowed to exercise, that gift that God has given to him, which his country would have benefited. But because he's in South Africa is not privileged to benefit from those. All we hear is about people who commit crime, Crime is bad, and we must condemn it, with everything we have. But then again, we never hear about people who are educated or who have. Can you believe that, as I'm talking, I left Vodacom in 2011. Till date, I'm unemployed until I started studying law. So, my knowledge, 11 years knowledge of how to trace cell phones, help the police. They call data. The police doesn't know how it works. They cannot analyze it. We do the analysis. We help them. That's why we go to court as expert witness to testify how this person was traced to point A to point B. Somebody like me don't have a job. Not because there's no job, but because the fact that, okay, he's not a South African, we can't give him that job. If we give him, there will be a problem. And then you bring somebody who doesn't know about it and put in that position. That is what South Africa is suffering. People are being appointed, maybe because he's comrade or because he's that, and the economy is suffering. Use the talent you have in your country and better South Africa. When I live here, I'm not going to uproot one building or whatever to go with to Biafra land. You understand? Any contribution I made here stays right here in South Africa. It is just my honest, I've told the people I've worked with. I wish he's hearing my voice here. Blessed memory, Zinzi Mandela. Even Winnie Mandela, she knows me one-on-one. Do you understand? But I'm not a South African, but I've contributed to the what? To South Africa economy. I don't know what advice you want to give to the government of this country to look into the resources that they have. Please go ahead.
There's a flaw in your argument in this sense. South Africa does give opportunities to everybody who lives in it. In my time, you see all these businesses in town, they were owned by whites. The whites have left. I clapped hands. I said, finally, my African brothers are showing me entrepreneurial spirit. You understand what I'm saying? When I grew up, there was no black business in this city of Johannesburg. But now, my African brothers are showing me entrepreneurial spirit. And they're opening shops, They're giving people who are of South African origin a run for our money. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not jealous over it. Instead, I bring you close and I learn. Be careful, I'm an African. So there's an assumption you make that you categorize South Africa as a whole. And I'll never speak as a South African government. I'll speak as a South African and what I've seen. South Africa has to protect its own citizens like any other country. I believe in this thing, that the only way is a symbiotic relationship. If you come with your skills, there are doctors which you get from all over Africa in this country. There's business people whom we trade with from all over Africa in this country. But the only proviso, in which this country even doesn't have, is that when you come to South Africa, you cannot open a company on your own. South Africa allows foreigners to open companies on their own and run their economies and run the companies here on their own. So you bring your business skill, you bring your company. There are Africans who get tenders. The majority of the security industry, if you check it very well, is not run by South African, except it's white. The majority of the, so be careful. They don't look at one side. There's a lot. South Africa has a right to protect its citizens first before everybody else. But South Africa has opened up the economy to anybody who comes in here. Let's leave Africans aside. How many Chinese own businesses, manufacturing businesses in this country, and they're not being closed down? And some of them we know they are making phone calls. How many Pakistanis, I wanted to come to that, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Indians who come from Asia and own businesses. We know one thing, that I'll call it, we are the United States of Africa with a stepping stone. That will never change. Me, I'm a political scientist, I know. Immigration has always happened from long ago. Even me, my ancestors don't come from here. South Africa will always be a metropolitan city metropolitan country, a mixture of all. And that will expand to the rest of Africa as the rest of Africa grows, particularly my Southern African border countries, Zimbabwe and all that. It will extend to that because we will become too congested and it will extend. So my belief is that you can't say that, or what did you say? Everything is dynamic. Everything is dynamic. Everything changes. Culture changes. My child today is getting married to a guy from Ghana. Your child is getting married to a guy from Zimbabwe. But they are all what? They were born in South Africa. You understand what I'm saying? So the whole culture. The other proviso, again, I'll come to it. All these people you say they are here, you've been here for, yeah, that means you have a South African ID.
Almost 20 years now.
You have a South African ID. Did you vote?
I didn't see the need to.
There we go again. All these people, they're sitting here in this country and they don't vote. And they're sitting with South African identity documents. Yet they do not participate in the political structure of inside the country. Now, where is your allegiance then? That means you are two-footed. You're like the Britain. You are still sitting in Biafra, you're still sitting in South Africa. you are two-footed. So now I'm putting it into, put everything into context. These things I study and I put a lot of effort into. That's why my general attitude is not based. The Congress will tell you, and they argue with me, you've got to have a sense about it, because I look at this thing holistically. I live with a lot of foreign nationals. I call them foreign nationals. I live with a lot of them because I try to understand the concept. Me at 1980, how I wish to run out of this country and be ruled by a black man like me. That was my wish. And when you came, I said, they finally came. Let me learn. Let me get close. That's why I have businesses which I have in partnership with people who are not not South African, but I know what I can gain from there, what I can gain from me, and all. So there's two ways to this street. Every individual is different. You cannot categorize all South Africans. You can't do that.
All right. Thank you very much. We play devil's advocate. And this is a typical question on the street, and I'm glad you also cleared it. And you must also understand I'm a final year law student. When I ask questions, I poke you. So that I can get all the answers that I need, And I also like the way you cleared the air. So if anybody's listening there, they will know this is what and what is not. All right. What is your party short, advocate? And then I will come back to Comrade Stone for his own party short. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I think I'm going to start from, I like it never gets to be interesting as long as if I agree with him completely.
Opposition.
Look, there are very good people in South Africa. Like I was talking about NGOs, that work in solidarity, human rights organizations, and all that are doing quite well, for the plight of the African people. That is why I was talking about one of the ladies that just from Burisa. It's actually from Burisa, who went to Cameroon recently and was detained over in December. Something very recent. Now, however, we see these traits of, injustice that we are fighting also in South Africa. And as a committee to comment about them, but I was called, I think, this week by SAFM. And the interview that I had was basically discussing that a lot of South Africans called in and say, foreigners must not participate. They must not even call in on South African radio stations to I'm telling you, it was on Monday in the morning or so when I had this interview. But what is that? So you realize that, and it doesn't come, I don't think it comes, it's a narrative that is fed in by politicians who are failing to do their work. When Comrade Stone was talking about, the business that are being opened, we've got a very good example of a business model that is in the inner city, the city of Johannesburg, that is, mainly by Somalians, Ethiopians, and Bangladesh and all that. They bought buildings that were collapsing. 2000 back then, this city, inner city was completely gone, dilapidated. Now it has come back to life. And as we speak today, it came back to life because those buildings were purchased by non-South Africans and they started doing business. Of course, we hear that there is a lot of counterfeit products and all that. But you see what is happening? They all those businesses. Every second day they are raided by this. Not because they've done anything wrong, but because they want to go and steal from them and take things away from them unlawfully, which is a very huge pain. Not because they've done anything wrong, but because they want to go and steal from them and take things away from them unlawfully, which is a very huge pain, because they rarely do that to white suburbs where white businesses